The story begins in a cave. The girl could no longer bear it and screamed out of pure horror. The situation was critical. She told herself that her food supplies had run out yesterday. Then she added that this was not the only blow. She had only 20 goddess points left, and it felt as if she was already starting to lose her mind. After that, she took out something that looked like a ticket and said she did not want to resort to this step but had no choice. The girl decided to risk the draft ticket. She raised her hand with the ticket and addressed the world, asking the girl to hear her wish and bring her a miracle. After that, light appeared from the cave, and in a few seconds, suddenly, a man appeared before her whom she did not know. Seeing this, she decided that the call was successful. Everything was going as it should. The man looked at her puzzled. Then he began to angrily scold the girl. She greeted him and said that she had summoned him to this world. She introduced herself Laura Gain Amara and confessed that she was a revered goddess of wisdom, the first and only one. At that moment, Laura asked the man his name and he introduced himself Kosakai Kaima. After that, she poked him with her finger and insisted that he listen. The girl told the man that he was the very man who was once called from another world and that he undoubtedly had incredibly strong abilities. She looked intently at Kay and ordered him to show her these abilities. The man at first decided not to do this and just stared at Laura. Then he asked her where he was at. All this made Kai angry. He stood up and said that the situation was annoying despite what he felt. He could only accept that he was really supposed to be summoned to another world. At that moment, the girl was surprised he did not do it, and she did not understand anything. Later, she decided that maybe that was even better. Kay ran through the thought in his head that in such situations he usually panics terribly and suddenly realized he did not want to go to Japan at all. The man with an indifferent face asked if that meant he was abnormal. Kay asked Laura if this ability was like spells and artifacts in video games, and she replied that if someone who does not have it passes through the gate, then immediately after changing sides they receive it. The man realized that he seemed to feel nothing, but quickly stopped worrying and decided to stick with Kay only with him. Seriously expressing himself, he pretended that it was necessary to show the girl his skills. For this, an egg was needed. This surprised Laura and she asked the man again, but he again answered that he needed a regular chicken egg. 30 minutes passed, and somehow the girl managed to find what Kai needed. He asked the girl where she got the egg, and she replied that it was none of his business and asked to show the ability faster. Kai put the egg on the table, then hid it near the mirror. The shell cracked. The girl looked at this with a cautious face and asked the man what was happening. Suddenly he twitched, swung, and shouted, then spectacularly poured the contents of the egg into a glass. After that, an awkward silence hung. He turned to Laura and advised her to warm up if something cold happened. And suddenly the girl turned to Kay again and found out his skill was to break an egg with one hand. Laura began to angrily mull this over in her thoughts, and she was surprised that the man could do such a thing at all. Crossing the gate, having received no power or anything like that, she even added, if she had gotten it, she would definitely have shown it. Kay, on the other hand, replied that it took him 8 years to master this skill and promised the girl that she would master it too. Suddenly confused, not knowing what to say next, the man called her by name. She began to deny that it was possible. Then Laura added, although she is the goddess of wisdom, she is now in the same position, so in this situation she has to use familiar draft cards. Suddenly she rushed to the man and asked if he really meant that she could only do this useless thing. Yet she admitted she still does not fully understand and asked him to explain. Then the girl cleared her throat and told that the goddess played an important role because she helped to push and lead humanity. For the goddesses to survive, they must take the care and prayers they receive from parishioners and turn them into goddess glasses. Kay concluded, if someone is foolish and lazy, their life may be in danger, and added that being a goddess is definitely a hassle. The girl immediately shouted that it was unfair. She had spent whole days lazing in a room in the goddess palace, and before she could come to her senses, her glasses almost disappeared, after which she was immediately thrown into a wild area. And her existence was in danger. Laura remembered how she begged and wept when meeting the goddesses. That is why she was issued a summoning ticket, a familiar one, someone who understood her reasons and her need for his abilities. The girl said it happened because now her existence depends on him. Kay wondered if she realized how selfish she was acting. Then he asked what she would get in return for her help. Laura replied with eternal gratitude, saying that for the man it was a great honor to hold such enormous thanks from a goddess like her, but she responded by calling his name. That angered Kay, and he realized he did not want to help her because after he addressed her, she behaved exactly like that. Then he heard a rumble in his stomach. The man told Laura that he was hungry, but she replied that there was no food here. Kay asked if she could prepare something. With a divine hand, she explained this because she is a goddess and dinner must be prepared for her. They left the cave and the man asked if there was a village nearby. The girl replied that she did not know and excused herself by saying that not even a month had passed since she was expelled. Kay thought that was probably true. Laura is a useless goddess. He told her this and added that she annoyed him. Their main mission still remained safe. The man asked her to take him to where there was food and water. Laura sluggishly considered whether to go, but then Kay angrily replied that it was necessary, and the girl agreed as she walked. She saw fruits growing on the trees and noticed that animals were lying nearby. Kay asked if it would be better to hunt the animals, but the girl replied that at that time there were many poisonous monsters in the forest. The man pondered, and Laura decided to compare the status of animals with the average for humans. She said that the status of a traveler at level 20 gives 160 GP, and at level 2890 a lion has 35,000 GP.
Even defeating monsters like Darkness Dragon, Light Dragon, and Evil World Tree Effector would have been a simple matter.
GP, and at level 28 35,000 GP.
Dragon, and Evil World Tree Effector would have been a simple matter.
GP, and at level 28 35,000 GP. Laura added that the lion attacks those who can eat fruits nearby while Kai imagined it. He realized that the girl was quite smart and agreed, then accidentally sneezed. This angered the boy again. He decided that Laura was a vain goddess. Lev heard strange sounds and suddenly the girl woke up. She quickly reached Kay and asked what they should do, told her to run away. She decided to distract the beast. So she started running while shouting to the man not to do anything rash right now. The lion and the snake approached the man. He believed it was necessary to monitor the enemy's movements. The creature opened its jaws wide and lunged at Kai along with the snake, but he managed to dodge and push it away. The man landed on the ground and suddenly did a somersault. 3 fruits fell from the tree and Kai decided to pick them up. He hid behind the tree, hoping that the beast in this world would not leave its territory to hunt prey. Eventually the monster left and the man sighed with relief. He thought it was safe now. He returned to the cave and saw Laura there, frightened by her appearance. She rushed to Kay and began thanking God for it. She was still alive. The man stroked his head and asked if the girl had been crying the whole time. This time he decided that Laura was naturally always honest. Although in most cases she managed to achieve this, but it seems this heroine is not eternal. Kai gave her a fruit and asked her to take it. The girl hesitated at first, then he explained. He gave it to her after telling him everything about Laura. He added that he could not leave Laura alone because they were in the same boat, so he suddenly called her. She rushed again to Kay and shouted his name. The girl showed how grateful she was, then asked to be let go. After that, they rushed forward, cut the fruit, and began to eat. The girl tasted the fruit and was delighted by how tasty it was. Kai also tried the fruit and suddenly the girl asked him to look at something that was characteristic specifically of her, right in front of her. After her level increased, the girl told Kai that she had reached level 7 and explained, thanks to him she would be able to collect enough goddess points. But the man suddenly remembered that precision and prayer were needed for this. But Laura then showed the fruit she had given him and said that these qualities are not limited to feelings and the gift also corresponds. The man was surprised at how quickly everything turned into his own selfishness. Then she wondered why her level of selfishness suddenly increased, and the girl suggested that it was because of her ability to open the window. Her ability to see this was usual for her and the skill of holding eggs in her hands. She broke them and cooked them while the rest absorbed magic. Their last surprise turned out to be so strong that they opened a special reference book. It said that this was a legendary SS-level ability. The owner of this ability absorbs the experience points and abilities of the one they eat. If the target does not have these additional points, absorbing them through repeated experience will not work.
Cedric notices that there are problems in the household, so he agrees to go to school the next day and asks the butler to accompany him.
Additional points, absorbing them. She decided that her ability was to break eggs and admitted, "This is confusing." The girl agreed with him because she considered him worthless. Then she said that the second level of the ability is something intermediate, and that third level owners can consider themselves skilled, while the fifth is the level of an elite expert. The girl asked if Kai could imagine how many eggs need to be broken to reach level 6 and called him a fool. And the man said that he did not want to hear anything from her and then decided that he should not give her the divine. "Thank you, Kai." After that, he asked her about it, and Laura opened a window in front of her characteristic as. She said that it was faith supported by the glasses of the faithful which men could obtain thanks to special abilities, showing that she had everything. She asked Laura about it and then reminded her she had promised her eternal gratitude. I understood what the girl meant. She was interested in what specific abilities exist. And she showed it. The man decided to choose poison resistance. But Laura explained, at level 1, only food poisoning and the weakest poisons are removed. Kaga remembered that he himself said, the forest is full of poisonous monsters, and the girl agreed. The man added that if you collect water and drink it without filtering, stomach protection will be useful. Laura suddenly shouted that she was a genius, but he replied, yes, that's true, just obvious things. The girl admitted that she had not even thought about it and decided, that man is a sage from the past, and Kai replied that he knows he is not very smart. According to Laura, it was rude and explained by the fact that the goddess rarely has access to the fountain of knowledge. The man was interested in this, and he told her that this is the place where all the knowledge of the world is gathered. Now he understands that although he has knowledge, it will be useless if he does not know how to apply it. Then Kai looked at his hands and realized, lately he had been an ordinary person. Suddenly he developed magical absorption abilities and he decided that he must use them. Laura confirmed that he really wanted to drink and advised him to go get water, and the man suggested taking a walk in the forest. They noticed strange creatures. The girl said that these are Cleone, they can be aggressive. Then the man said that he seemed to need to quit drinking, but Laura began to get annoyed. She had been looking for this place for a long time. She decided that getting to the water would not be easy and asked the girl to show the Cleone status menu. She opened the window and showed level 10. The man asked if he could see their abilities, but Laura replied that it was impossible. Kai realized there are many monsters, he does not know their skills, and yet he must deal with them alone. The girl suddenly sneezed again, and the man, turning to her, met her very displeased face as they were turning into monsters. Leon launched her strike and Kai rushed towards Lori to protect her, shouting that she was stupid until they both fell to the ground. He ordered the girl to return to the cave, and she agreed. The man grabbed a stick and prepared to attack. A turn and he transformed into a monster and said that he had no one to fight with except the strongest, saved. Silona lunged at Ki with her tentacles. He dodged the blow and immediately counterattacked. After some time, Ki emerged from the lake with his trophies and said that the other monsters decided not to chase him. When the man reached the cave, he thought that no one there would want to be distracted from their business. But still, Laura joyfully rushed to him. Kai lightly slapped him on the back of the head and asked what he was doing. He replied that the girl already knew everything herself and decided not to return to this topic. The man showed that he brought enough water and handed Laura the monster. He asked if it could be eaten. And the girl replied that anything could happen, just not Kay's red part, because he wants a knife that doesn't dull or break. The girl said she could give him a new one, but it would cost her some goddess points. Then the man asked even more politely, let her hear his wish and bring miracles that would give him a feeling of fullness. The man was suddenly struck when the knife suddenly appeared in the air and fell into his hand. The girl said she could buy it in a regular store, so the man started cooking. He cut the meat and other ingredients, then arranged everything on a plate. As a result, they got sashimi with the taste of Cleone K and said it was soft and sweet. Suddenly, some girl called him, asking to try some herself. The man handed her a piece, thinking that at least he gave her a knife, and imagining how Laura would also admire his food while the tentacles wrapped around him. Suddenly, Kai realized that his level had also risen and understood. He had gained a new ability, Ice Needle. After a few minutes, he tried to activate this ability. Apparently, everything worked out. The man, surprised, approached the tree with a needle and checked the ice. Since then, the ice became normal. The water problem was solved. Suddenly, Kay had an idea. He decided to prepare another portion of sashimi and, as expected, the level size increased. Then he noticed the number next to the level and decided it was experience. The girl confirmed and said, when the experience reaches the last level, it will enhance her power. Considering the absorption of magic, he thought that although he gained some experience just by eating, now the guy could do nothing else, only earned a level during lunch. Naturally, he could acquire another ability. The man believed it was the best thing that could happen to him. Kai thought about the future. With such power, I cannot imagine how mighty she will become if he begins to devour powerful beings. The man thought so now, having such an ability, no one would dare challenge him and he could live peacefully without any burdens. He said there was no need to worry about food and water, and Laura kindly offered to help and told about the hunting grounds. But Kai refused and only asked her to be more careful. He explained that he was honest and did not want to end up in such a situation. Again, Laura began to assure him next time she would be more useful and asked him not to leave her. After that, he agreed. Thus began his new life. Kay said that as soon as she was recognized as a goddess in this world and given special skills to level up along with food, she would want to test them by approaching the roosters. The man noticed that the chickens were flying. He recalled that after that Laura looked beaten. She had collected the eggs and then asked about everything. She said that the hens chased her, and then that man apologized for bothering her and she decided to catch the bird, started saying something about decay. She did not listen to him and asked again. The girl began to swear and order them to do it, when he used his divine glasses to prevent them from escaping unnoticed. Kay did not let the girl go and again ordered her to return to the cave. Laura refused. She wanted to restore her honor but warned that she would soon lose it again. Then she pushed her away and said she would do everything herself. After that, she rushed forward. Magic that used the extraordinary power of the goddess to scare enemies. After that, her opponent could only kneel. The aura could not be used without the goddess's chalice. So it did not work on the chicken, which began to attack her. Laura asked the man for help, fully expecting it, and decided to help her. She used an ice needle and asked the girl not to cry if it hit. Her needles scattered separately and sneaked up, peeking at the chicken behind Kay. Then he began gathering them while the girl grumbled that her cheek was being pinched. Kai told her to gather the loot and leave when suddenly 2 of them entered the hut. Only 2 roosters appeared before her. Laura started shouting that this was a very cruel person, and then he suddenly grabbed her and said he remembered how she was useless because they used that secret technique. A divine barrier that the man could use, and the goddess as bait to protect herself from attacks. He really asked Laura to avoid this, but she said they needed to discuss everything about the chickens that had already started attacking her, and she broke away and ran off. The man decided the situation was about to escalate. Although he saw the girl overcoming this on the way to the cave, Laura complained about scratches and started scolding the chickens that noticed it. The man ignored her words. He asked if she wasn't offended, then called her a useless goddess, and said that dealing with her problems was truly exhausting. Laura began to hesitate and justify herself. She said she hadn't transformed yet, but the man was not convinced. Then he apologized and promised that from now on he would be obedient. Looking at her, disappointment overwhelmed him more and more until suddenly an idea flashed in his mind. The man remembered that Laura was honest and faithful. After that, he said he would forgive her as long as their condition made a fire in the cave. The girl asked why he needed manual labor, although he did not refuse to help Kai and asked him to talk less and do more. He took a chicken and, as expected, tried to bite it, and the man gained a new ability to breathe fire. They decided to cook the meat that Kai once had to test his new ability, and as a result, a bonfire appeared. They were served fried chicken exactly how the man liked it, and they enthusiastically praised its taste. While he enjoyed the food, the girl decided to remind him about himself. Kate ordered him to stop staring and handed him her chicken leg. Laura happily bit it and exclaimed that the dish was incredibly tasty. She continued eating when suddenly she remembered something. The girl began to worry that the wild chicken might be poisonous, but Kay was not concerned. He had immunity. A few days later, they set off again to the lake to catch Cleona. The man shouted fire, and a terrifying face emerged before them. Then he told me that he hunts in the forest with the goddess every time and gains experience, even gnawing on tree bark, and when they reached the roost with the chicks. They noticed that it was quite empty here. The girl decided the heavenly chicken king had returned. She revealed that this was the main boss of the chickens, crowned with one of the 4 sacred creatures. And she remembered how she was once called ordinary chicken. Laura asked you to stop underestimating chickens and carefully sneak into their nest to see the heavenly king, Suzaku, who is sleeping. The man asked if the bird was simply sleeping in its nest. As soon as Laura confirmed, he decided not to miss this chance. Suddenly, he pulled out a knife. Suzaku woke up and released Kay, showing the power of one of the 4 kings. Even when he was asleep, his power and spirit were extraordinary. Fearing the man still continued to attack Suzaku, he stabbed the bird with the knife and said it was too tragic. Suzaku, the heavenly king, was defeated and they returned to the cave. The man decided to have a snack. After all, his ability to breathe fire was now raised to level 5. Kay thought that level 3 was already good, but at level 5 his expectations soared. Then he decided to remember how he could kick off mud with his feet and open the corresponding window. The man said that a week had passed since he entered this forest, and his level had risen to 16. He decided to test all his abilities and explained that, besides eating monsters, he also gained abilities when feeding Laura. Kay spent a bunch of points on healing magic and still couldn't fry scrambled eggs without eggs, but he understood that purification magic was also extremely necessary. However, there was one thing he never regretted choosing sword skill. Suddenly, some girl called out to him. She showed him a sword made of white silver, crafted by hand. Laura then added that since the man helped her regain strength, at least she could do this. She thanked him, then shifted her gaze to the forest, which she suggested to Kay to test his endurance in walking. Walking along the road, the man wondered what powerful monster he could defeat, and Laura remembered a mad fool. She added that his lair was here. Kay pointed to a tree and explained that it was a chocolate tree and decided to try it because he thought it really tasted like chocolate. Suddenly, Laura screamed that it was so unfair and started jumping. He said that she also wanted to try. The man, noticing her unsuccessful attempts, decided to help. Kay gave her a piece of chocolate and she tasted it. But after some time, she started to panic again. The man threw everything on the floor and promised not to touch it anymore. Laura asked him again, and seeing how she was justifying herself, he decided to believe her. Suddenly, a mad, restless rabbit jumped out of the bushes. Kay grabbed the sword. When Crazy Pig appeared before the girl and the man and they began to prepare for battle, Kai noticed that their levels differed slightly. He had 563 levels and the monster had 828. The girl said it looked difficult but suggested, if the man used his abilities, victory would be easy. Right now, the forest pigs grunted and rushed towards them. Kai first decided to test his ability to breathe fire. He stretched out his hand, summoning flames. The fire from his palm was already flying forward and setting on fire everything in its path. When the fire went out, the man saw the forest boar was not injured even a bit, and he was very surprised. Then the fiery monster rushed at him and he prepared to attack. But suddenly the forest boar stopped and the lifeless body fell to the ground. Kai exhaled with relief and realized his ability came from Suzaku. The girl was impressed by what he did and said he could defeat anyone. She decided to prove it by cutting down that boring prey. Then she stabbed him with a sword and took him to the fire. Kai rushed at everything with which the salt armed him given by Laura and thought the food looked incredibly delicious. So he got a boring steak. He tasted the man's meat and felt as if it were pork but with a smooth flavor. Suddenly a window appeared before him and he received a new, powerful ability. It was almost imperceptible, but it was strong. After that, Kay trained more and realized only 3 days had passed and his level rose to 843. The girl squealed that she also wanted to eat something useful and gave an example with chicken, but the man reminded her that chicken was poisonous. After that, Laura remembered that she herself said, if she spent enough points, she could also gain resistance to poison. Then she called herself a very smart girl and the man reluctantly agreed. They walk through the forest while Laura looks for chickens and he notices her mood. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, he sees something and rushes swiftly to the girl. Kay covers her and something flies over them. Suddenly, they hear a voice and the man decides that it is telepathy. He sees a chicken praising Kay for his ability to dodge and introduces himself. He is the strongest of the 4 heavenly kings, Bayako, brave and reckless. The man asks if she really decided to take revenge for her friend, but she brushes it off. It's nonsense. Bayako revealed that at that time he and Suzaku were rivals. The killer of Suzaku appeared before him. The instinct warrior demanded to meet him in battle. Then Kay ordered the rooster to show its abilities. The man looked at his enemy and at first thought he was of average height, but quickly realized the aura and strength of Bayako and Suzaku are the same. He drew his sword and the rooster ordered him to attack Bayako. The man rushed forward with reckless bravery and struck with a sudden fire breath. Something happened and the flame disappeared. Kay understood. The rooster cancelled his ability, which angered Kay from the powerful attack. Bayako threw the man and forcefully stripped him of his clothes. Kay broke through several trees and finally fell to the ground. He rushed to Kay, shouting this. He finished. They released ice needles, but the chicken spat fire from its beak. The man realized he used fire to repel the attack, so he rushed at him with blind needles, was surrounded by flames and fell into Bayako. Kay thought for a moment that, but managed to release the tension from caution and decided not to miss this opportunity. He took the strong scoundrel he got from the wild boar and pierced the chicken with his silver sword. The last time Bayako managed to scream was during a fierce battle against an opponent without hesitation, and it was a great feat. Now he is the heavenly king who defeated another and threw him to the ground. Laura rushed to him like a whirlwind and ordered him never to do reckless things alone again. Kay apologized for making her worry. Suddenly the man realized it was really close because he seriously thought he would die after this fight. Bayako entered right into Kay's stomach and the man gained 2 new abilities, courage and chaotic spiral drilling. After a week, his level rose from 843 to 1226. The girl climbed onto the water barrel and settled comfortably. He tidied his clothes and decided it was time to leave the forest. He wanted the stability of a soft baby crib and adventures that do not threaten life. Suddenly, Laura, wrapped in a towel, ran to him in fright. Ignoring her, he decided to leave. It had been boring here lately. The girl shouted that she was already fed up and wanted to get out of the forest as soon as possible. Kay admitted he thought so too, and he remembered saying it 3 days ago. Laura asked how long he would play around before leveling up and also asked him to pick her up when he arrived ready to go. After that, the man stood up and poked his finger in his face, asking her to remind him why they suddenly found themselves in the forest. The girl replied that she had thought about it a little, and Kai said, although he was not the best person from her point of view, he had enough of his own worries. Then the man turned around and advised Lori not to rely on him if she really wanted to get out of here, and told her to learn to defend herself. She pondered and remembered that earlier in the Palace of the Goddesses she had already been told something similar before Kai appeared. She was told that she could awaken her divine power, but her behavior was still unworthy of being a goddess. Moreover, Lori was advised to reflect on her conduct, and she began to get angry when she was considered a fool, though in reality she was trying very hard. Then the girl said that she did not care about Kay and promised to leave the forest on her own terms. This scoundrel Kai began to think that the girl would return any moment, but suddenly the sweet little bird landed right on his head. The man moved it to his palm and did not understand why his anxiety did not subside. Laura suddenly appeared and spoke to him. She said that Kai talked too much and did not pay attention to her, and she began to hate him. Then the girl flew away and the man went into the sky, feeling emptiness. He remembered how honest and sensitive he had been to her every day of their acquaintance from the very beginning. Suddenly he heard a scream and saw her running away from the chickens. Kai quickly grabbed the sword and used fire. He deflected all the poisonous needles, but suddenly a rooster appeared before him, stunned by what the man had done, and he killed his comrades. The rooster seemed to be the wisest among the heavenly kings. He explained that he did not come to fight and revealed that he, together with S, studied this. The rooster said that he wanted to find out who among them was stronger and invited him to a duel. If he refused, he promised to appear in the middle of the night and crow incessantly. Kai immediately realized he clearly did not want this. Then the rooster took off and flew away, and the man hurried to Laura. He thanked her and suggested leaving the forest as soon as possible. He said he would join the duel, and the girl asked him to think again. Kai suggested that there might be a trap on their territory where they would fight, so the best option was to ignore it and unite. But if they returned, he would fight alone in his territory, and that man did not want to be cornered like last time. Laura admired how cunning he was. According to him, he was very simple-minded. Suddenly he realized he had been trapped. He began to insist that he had no intention of relying on him. Then the man called out to Ki, saying that even if the chance was 1 in 10,000, his extraordinary talent would manifest in him. He had not yet seen it at all, but added that he did not want to miss the opportunity to see it. At that moment, Laura rushed into his arms and cried that she was lonely. He sighed with relief and they ran to find the nearest settlement. During the journey, Laura threw a cloak over herself. She suggested heading to the nearest city and moving there as long as Kai remained standing. Suddenly he turned to her and said that he did not even know where to go unless the man asked how to use the fountain of knowledge, and in general, if he at least roughly imagined the geography of this place. He said that if he looked at the route even once, he could use the source of knowledge and make a map, but Laura could not calculate the length of the path from point A to point B. Then Kai decided she just needed to look at the city to understand how to get there. Suddenly he grabbed the girl and she began to scream. Since then they started their journey. Kay said that they destroyed all the monsters on the way, and to get out of the forest without attracting attention, they were leaving. Laura asked what the man was doing. He replied that he was collecting materials from monsters' fangs and scales, and then added, if they gather everything that might have value, it can be sold to earn money. After 3 days, they finally reached the city, and Kai's level rose to 1256. Before the girl stood the fortress city Kevel. And the man Laura pointed to was rejoicing like a child. The city and Kai asked him to stop running back and forth and to take his place in the queue. Suddenly, 2 guards appeared on their path. One said that Kai needed to show an ID to be allowed into the city and asked Laura about her ID. He explained that the certificate is a special card that shows the position and social status of a citizen in society. Then he added that any guild could issue a certificate to Kai. He realized, to work and trade, he needed a document, and here the guards decided to ask how he had managed without this basic information so far. The man replied that he came from a distant country and did not know about these border rules. The guards suggested he contact the Adventurers Guild. There he could get a status and a guild card which he would use as an ID. Kai asked if it was very likely that if these people became bandits in the future, they would face even bigger problems. They approached the Serval Adventurers Guild. In the reception, they were met by a girl named Effa who asked if they had come to order identification cards. She immediately realized she had another problem. Now there were two people before her, unclear, with unknown history. Kai said that the guards sent them there and asked about the possibility of getting a job. The girl agreed and explained that in this city, rewards for completed tasks depend on the guild rank. Beginners start at the lowest. And he completed 5 tasks to rise to rank F. Then Effa added, for ranks E and above, they would have to pass a promotion exam. The man understood from her question whether it was worth starting at rank G, and despite the fact that he was already stronger, the girl replied, their community is based on trust, so no adventures should be started so. Kai understood, like everyone else, he would have to start from the bottom, just as Laura called out and said that if they raised their rank, their income would grow. Since then, their rank was determined by the number of completed tasks, so they had to take on a bunch of simple jobs. Suddenly, Effa noticed the man looked quite confident for someone who had not even started yet, but she decided to ignore it. Realizing that their behavior was indeed completely normal, he began to formalize it. Before that, he asked Laura and Kay to contribute 3,000 for Leopard, and if they lacked money, he offered them an IOU. The man understood that there was no money and decided to try to sell the trophy. This surprised the girl. He offered 40,000 to Barcelona for everything, but decided that it was too risky to entrust such a thing to strangers. Then Effa said that it is important to remember, trust is the most valuable trait in Serval. He agreed to sign the receipt and handed over 2 certificates that responded only to magic and the owner's fingerprint. Laura took the card and suddenly froze, admiring its appearance. Kay shows that now he might have found the motivation to do something, and as soon as they looked at the task list on their bulletin board, he began to make excuses, and they decided to take on the task of collecting caterpillars for 1,000 balsh. The girl remembers Kay and tells him that he took one of the hardest missions. I'm sure that Guy has already run back and is crying, but his partner starts insisting that he has character problems. Suddenly, Kay returns to the guild with an unexpected report on the completed task. According to Effa, she considers it a mistake, but the client's seal on her own seal says otherwise, so she gives him 2 silver coins worth 1,000 balsh and wishes him success in this matter. Then the man remembered that he had heard somewhere, a room for 2 costs only 1,000 balshi per night, because Laura did not answer a single question. What is wrong with this girl? The girl said that she lacks the luxury of restaurants and resorts, and they were explained. At that time there will be none. They decided to go to Crescent Tavern, which is run by adventurers. Suddenly they were received as if they were newcomers. There was a girl who introduced herself, Asha, the owner and manager of the inn. The man decided that the cheap room was not so bad after all, and the landlady asked him to follow her. They sat at the table and met Asha. Later she served them dinner. The girl said that as the owner of this establishment, she is glad to hear that her friends had a good time in the city. After that she left. Kay glanced at Laura and asked if she believed in goddesses, and she asked him to behave fairly and show her mercy more often. Suddenly, their conversation caught the attention of the men at the neighboring table. One noticed that Kai dared to tease Ashu, while others admitted she did not do it like she did. So they decided to teach the man a lesson, but a third person stopped them. Had an idea. He approached Kai and discreetly placed a glass of beer in front of her, offering her to drink it herself. The man tried to refuse, but Laura said that at her age everyone does that to avoid fights. He agreed and tasted the drink. Kay liked the drink. And the man noticed that she did her job well, reminding that she would pay for herself, and thinks that he will take this man. Kay got so drunk that for some time he disgraced himself all over the city. He drank again, and again, sip after sip, cup after cup, and the man was impressed by this. He could not allow the man to drink too much and asked the waiter to bring more beer. The man asked several times to serve a few more glasses, and after 2 hours, when he was already quite drunk, he finally leaned back in his chair and started vomiting. Everyone was shocked that such a strong-willed person could get drunk to such a state. Kay, the novice, understood. His ability to resist poison also prevents him from getting drunk. Suddenly he heard Asha's voice. Ash asked if he had given up alcohol. Then Asha confessed that she also liked to drink, and that lately she often felt dizzy. She could no longer keep up the pace. When she saw how Kay was drinking, she thought they were destined to be together. Asha changed and apologized for her rude behavior, but the man asked her not to worry. Then the girl suggested keeping it a secret, and from that day she left the cheap store to meet Kay. Asha took her turn to approach the man and said that fate had brought them together, calling him a dear. The girl hugged him and suddenly they were both without clothes. Meanwhile, Kay was sleeping, hugging a pillow, and then suddenly fell off the bed right where Laura found him. She was in such a state and asked not to scare her. Early in the morning, the man asked why she was scolding him, and the girl recalled their conversation with Kay and tried to prove that she was not jealous. Kay decided to lounge in bed a bit, but the pillow turned out to be too hard. Then he asked Laura if she could make a soft futon, and she explained what the man meant. He thought it would be easier for them to earn money if he created things that could be sold. But the girl replied that this was forbidden for everyone except the goddess's servants. Then she added, if someone breaks this rule, they will be punished. And Kay realized everything was raised to level 1335. They came to the Adventurers Guild, where an evil child was already waiting for them. The man thanked him for paying for them yesterday, but he only replied that he lost everything yesterday due to an accident, and demanded a rematch. The next day, those people went to advise Kay to be careful, and he realized this man does not give up. He decided to check the statistics of his child, saw that he was only level 60. And Laura explained that he was quite strong even compared to an ordinary level 20-30 adventurer. Then she added Kay could become an important person if he had a 3-digit level. Now he understood why he looked so strange at level 1335, and Laura caught him. Moreover, the man learned to use magic immediately after he got into this world, although magic was actually a rare talent. Suddenly he grasped the sequence that matched. He needed to master it. Their order of fire magic was just created especially for them. Suddenly someone else claimed it was his, just as someone began to reach for the sheet and touch it. Kay turned around and saw a girl with rabbit ears and a dog tail and decided she was a wild person. He gave the sheet to the man and he tore it up. He offered him a task under the pretext that he really wanted to take it, and then added that there are other orders they can still accept. The girl said that she failed 3 orders in a row, although her specialization was fire magic, and she was also receiving tasks from some guy. She carefully thanked Key and promised that she would never forget him. She asked him not to exaggerate, and the girl left. The girl with ears came to the mustached man's workshop to thank him for accepting the order and helping. Then he grinned and mentally called her worthless, not realizing that 4,000 Bolsheviks would not go anywhere, no matter where the well-known person's road led. If their harnesses were used with the help of magic, it would significantly reduce the emission of harmful substances from burning garbage. But since then, because there was a lot of water vapor in the raw waste, everything had to burn for a long time to burn completely. At this stage, the girl gathered all the garbage and used a fireball. After that, she was asked to burn another 20 goblin-sized sacks, and she began to hate what the man was doing, saying she considered it a coincidence. He promised to pay in full and said he believed in her kindness. The girl looked back thoughtful. She was not a strong witch, and then she asked if she really had no abilities. In the end, he decided to use a fireball. Suddenly he fell to the ground and said that he had run out of mana, but the man praised him for the work, after which he gave the money, and the girl asked why he received only 300 balshi. The man replied that he could not burn all the garbage, and then referred to the guild rule, considering it an unfulfilled task. But he added that he paid her 300 balshi for her suffering, and the girl noticed. He asked to burn more garbage than was specified in the order. And then the man turned around and declared that he was not a real mage, and no one would hire him. He suggested to the girl to stop practicing magic because of her naive attitude. She started crying and went for a walk. The girl wondered what to do because she couldn't pay for the room. Suddenly, only 300 balsh remained. She stumbled and fell to the ground. The girl realized she was starting to lose consciousness. Her eyes, filled with mana, began to darken, and she heard someone's voices when she woke up. Kay noticed her, rushed up, saw her and Laura, and recognized them. The man promised he wouldn't harm her and decided to introduce himself. He gave his name and the name of his girlfriend. He introduced himself to the family and apologized for disturbing her. She thought so. Even though the man was eccentric, they did not behave like bad people and talked about order. Laura was angry about the story he told and couldn't forgive it. Kay agreed with her. He suggested reporting it to the guild, but Femel admitted she herself agreed to these terms, so filing a complaint about the violation would be difficult. After that, Laura referred to her condition and suggested removing all that junk meaning this man, but the man said his joke was very bad. The girl asked if he would really let injustice win. She began to doubt looking at such a reaction, and said, if he doesn't help, she will do everything herself. When the man suddenly stopped her, Kay admitted he was not sure the girl could handle it alone and asked to let him take care of it. When the man counted the money and was glad that beginners were easy to deceive. Suddenly someone called him and he turned around. The man asked who they were, and Kay introduced herself as an acquaintance of the girl who took him from her, so he decided that those people were honest and stupid like women and needed to be driven away. The man asked what they wanted from him, and he told them that he heard about the violation, the same one who stopped him. He asked him not to spread rumors about what didn't happen and explained that he changed the details of the order with the girl's consent. As a result, he accused the woman of weakness. The man said she was weak. He had good intentions and did not expect that such an incompetent girl as she would do it. He agreed to her proposal beyond what he himself asked for and thanked her for giving him this opportunity. Kay thought about it and asked himself how to defeat someone weaker without killing them. Suddenly, an idea came to him while the other understood nothing. He still reached out to Kay and pressed against the wall. Assuming he did not care whether Kai would get a promotion and destroy his shop. The man asked if he had said everything and got angry. He pushed Kai away and asked him not to make him laugh, so said the man. He knew everything about them and ordered them to stop being heroic. He began threatening the guards, and that man asked where the trash came from and where the order was kept. After a short pause, the people came across the garbage and the man suggested what needed to be done. The girl confirmed his guess. Kai realized that to burn everything, a large amount of power would be needed, so he decided to use 15 of his might and chose to continue. The man was stunned by what was happening. Fire flared from the man's hand as he knocked him down. After that, nothing remained in the furnace. Now it was the man's turn. He introduced himself and said that he would soon become the strongest in the city. People believed if he wanted to make him his enemy, he could have imagined the consequences. Laura added that Kai is incredible, and the man had already begun to think it was just a bad dream, but then he admitted his mistake and agreed to return the money. The man decided that all issues were resolved. The man gave all his earnings 46,000 bausch. Kay counted everything, and the man asked him to leave if he was satisfied with everything. Suddenly, the homeland called all three of them to sit on the bench. Kay suggested splitting his gift in half, and Laura agreed. She gave half to the family, and she was very ashamed. She nervously started counting, and people asked what was wrong with her. The girl explained it was fair because for the first time in her life she saw so much money. Suddenly, she made a decision and endlessly begged Kay to take her in as a student. Kay asked if the girl was sure that he would consider her as an intern, and she confirmed what she said. The girl said that as soon as she saw the man, she understood. If she was with him, she would have a chance to stop being so useless. Kay began to doubt, and he said that he could not take on the internship because he himself lacked enough experience in family adventures. The girl admitted that her request was reckless. She promised to try hard and complete any task he wanted, and generally do everything this man ordered her to do. She decided that the girl was in a difficult situation when she suddenly handed her something. Kay asked what it was, and the girl replied that it was an impressive gift from her father. She said that her father had died and he was a famous traveler who had traveled all over the world. The girl recalled how she admired her father and dreamed of becoming like him. While she was very young, that was why, as soon as she reached adulthood, to better understand the world of adventures, she decided to enter the National Magic Academy. Laura wondered if this magic school had produced many successful magicians over the years, and her family answered, yes. They said that some graduates with guild recommendations could seek help anywhere and even start from rank D to fulfill their dream. Femel devoted time to studying to successfully pass the exam, but when it came to magic, she couldn't handle it. The girl knew no spells except fireballs. She failed the final exam several times and was eventually expelled, but Femel did not want to give up. There was still a chance to start from scratch. Then Kai understood why she started from G rank. The girl admitted that she knew she was not made for adventures. She said this was the man's last hope, and although it was not a job, he promised to give up and finally start looking for another job. He admitted to himself that he did not want to regret not having done this until now. Seeing this, Kai decided to consider it an internship. He immediately warned her that he might not help, but at least he would give her advice. The girl began to thank him, and Laura said that she was incredible walking around the city. Laura admitted that she had never thought about her future the way this woman thinks now. Kay decided that she became an adventuress because of her will and could not advise the student anything. Suddenly, he saw people trailing a tent with food and an invitation to go inside. The boys were met by a girl and she asked if they wanted to try the luxurious round bread. The man asked again and she explained. The delicious recipe for the grilled dish of their tribe was passed down from generation to generation. Kay was surprised that such things were sold at the stall, so he decided to buy the package the girl offered. A luxurious round bread, and he warned that it might be hot. Laura said the bread looked extremely tasty and advised eating it before it cooled down. At first she bit off, then swallowed the whole bread, and Kai decided to ask if she was all right. The girl said that no matter how much she ate, she never got used to it. The man decided to try and realized it tastes very similar to curry. While he was eating, Laura asked for more bread, but Kai refused, and right then she rushed to him and demanded that he at least share one piece. He decided to do it, give him a loaf of bread. The girl said she loves Kai and he understood what it was like to lose vigilance after all this. That other man went to the hotel. The man said he decided to take this woman because his students lived in the same hotel between assignments, and Kai supervised the girls' training for 2 days. Effa turned to the man and his girlfriend at the request. He showed them his work and said that candidate Leon is from the Gold District. Suddenly, Femel jumped out from somewhere, having heard about the Gold District. Kay asked if she knew anything about it, and she said it was the leading trading company in the city that sells the best equipment. Kai read the order and understood his task was to transport the luggage. Femel suddenly announced that she had to complete her mission and left, leaving the people who arrived at the destination. There a girl met them. He introduced himself as Lilina Highlord, and said that after hearing a lot about them, the man asked where she knew them from. She replied, a friend told her about a strange traveler, and then she asked a few questions and studied. Then everyone went into the house, to which the girl pointed the safe and said that it was all because the key broke. He had to take it to the warehouse to disassemble for parts. She said the item was quite heavy and suggested that people would become stronger. The man suggested that it was possible to assess the security level. After raising the physical ability rating, his also increased, so he asked Lilina if she could lift the item. She agreed because she believed she would not do it. Kai began to lift the safe when suddenly the girl shouted that she had not removed the seal. The man took the seal and she was suddenly struck with surprise. At first she asked what kind of seal it was, and Lilina replied that it did not matter because she did not expect him to take the safe so carelessly. Then the girl said that the safe weighs 5 times more and asked how strong her boyfriend was. Laura said that Kai was cool, but Lilina asked why he behaved so recklessly. In the end, the man safely carried everything and finished the job. Lilina wanted to find out if the man still had time she needed to talk to him. They agreed, and later he found out that the girl and the man had arrived in the city 5 days ago. Lilina suggested they sign a special contract because she saw potential in it. An adventurous man inquired about this and she explained, this is not an ordinary contract made in the guild. Lilina wanted those people to prioritize her tasks from now on. The girl said everything through achieving C rank, and the traveler received a good prestige leaf. But as soon as this became known, too many people began to seek her attention.
Suddenly Ulford approached him and
Through achieving C rank, and the traveler received. But as soon as this became known, too many people began to seek her attention. Suddenly a girl approached them. She put a bag of money on the table, and Lilina said they had prepared an advance payment 60,000 ball sheet for friends, hoping that it would be enough. The man pondered, then sharply turned to Laura and asked if it was normal to make such a contract with an adventurer. She replied that the company usually starts recruiting adventurers from rank D, but not from the very beginning. And Kai reconsidered the money he received from this man. He was able not only to pay off all debts but also to buy a new blanket. Then the man turned to Lilina and reminded her that she had recently arrived in this city and that it was pointless. He asked if she was in too much of a hurry and admitted the advice really made sense. Lilina, too kind, just sighed and decided to do it. He asked if they really suspected her of betrayal. I explained that he was just not sure about her intentions. Then the girl began to laugh. She said the man was good, smart, and removed his hood. The man saw her ears. Lilina said she was a rare descendant of Nalf. Using intuition, she felt whether creatures had strange powers. The girl was sure Kai was hiding his true power. Laura suddenly screamed. She managed to find this out without revealing Lilina's status. She wondered if the man believed her after that and paused for a moment. So the people agreed to her proposal and made an advance payment of 60,000 balshi. Then they contacted the guild and paid off a debt of 30,000 balshi. Besides that, they completed 5 tasks and finally got promoted to rank F, walking at the end of the road. Kai started talking about buying a futon and wanted to ask Ashu about it. As soon as he entered the shop, he already met them there. When he heard this question, he told me that there is one here. However, Asha warned that the prices there are higher than usual, and when he found out that people were transferred to F rank, he offered them drinks. He seated all his friends at the table. He stood up and announced the celebration. The man was not used to this, so he was embarrassed. He told Kay that he needed to finish his drink and then asked if they could start drinking right after work. The girl replied that she left the cleaning to the workers. The man noticed that the girl really loved alcohol madly. Suddenly he hugged her and Laura looked with disgust. She shuddered, how angry he was because of her frank flirting. Laura continued drinking and thought she had the same endurance but suddenly fainted. Asha decided that the girl could not drink, but the man recalled she had poison endurance. Then Asha asked if Famila wanted to drink with them and she decided to leave, using the excuse of helping Laura. The girl left, the man left too. Asha remained alone and he said that he looks like a handsome devil, and he noticed that the girl was already drunk. Then the girl suggested continuing to meet, but Kay said that she was going too far and admitted he just wanted to get to know her better. Although later he said that, without a doubt, he was interested in such things. Kay said that it was the first time and that the girl was touched like that for the first time. She took off all her clothes and stood before him. The man decided that she was incredibly beautiful. Suddenly the boy opened his eyes and saw that he was sitting on his bed and realized, although he drank out of politeness, he had drunk too much last night. Then Kay remembered after everything got complicated with A. Unfortunately, she went to her room and fainted on the bed. The man clenched his fists and began to rejoice. It was not a dream. Suddenly, evil Laura appeared next to him. Kay began to admire the weather to smooth things over and asked her not to frown. Laura said she knew something indecent happened between her and Asha, but the man replied evenly. If that was the only issue, it was not a problem for him, and he agreed. Then the girl decided, since the man liked dirty words, it was her duty to watch his actions because he was a follower and should not do anything awkward. She got up from the bed and thought that the girl was now lonely because he had forgotten about her. After that, he hugged her. The man asked her not to worry and said that she liked it too. The girl remained calm and decided to stop there. She again prepared to say that she loved Laura very much and began to say it uncertainly because she did not know what to answer. Suddenly she was overwhelmed with shame and she decided to leave. The man thought so too, although he had to stop. But their relationship evened out as they walked down the corridor. Suddenly he remembered he forgot to thank the family for helping Laura. Kay enters the room and sees a girl without outerwear who is just getting dressed. As soon as he saw her, Kay immediately covered himself. Kay turned around and said that she has a very beautiful body called Femel. He pushed her out the door, stating that no sane person would enter the room without knocking and at least asking to think a little about their actions. Later, 3 of them set off to the trading zone to buy a luxurious bed. Because he had 50,000 Balshathi could wander in luxury, but as soon as Kaiga realized he could ask Laura for a bed for goddess glasses, he immediately understood that it would not be profitable. His girlfriend noticed the ice cream shop and they decided to get 2 servings. The man asked if Femel really did not want ice cream, but she asked him not to worry. She said she would bear divine punishment if she allowed herself such a luxury. The man offered to buy her something as an apology for what happened, but she refused again. And then the girl told me that there was one more shop left that she wanted to visit. They went and Laura found a collar there. She showed this to Kay in response to the fact that the collar was guilty. Then she started insisting that it was her chain, and suddenly Femel sneaked up behind her. The man asked if she liked what Laura found and she replied no. Then Kay asked to buy 2 chains at once and Femila began to hate him. Explaining that putting a dog collar on a wild animal is like saying, now it belongs to someone. The man apologized for what he said as if he did not know. Femel said it was not his fault and decided to wear the gift. Then the girls asked how they looked and she replied that the collar suited them both. Then they went to the store and the man noticed that the spices looked quite modern there, although later he remembered, in this world there was even a goddess. When Kai went outside, he saw a large crowd of people. Suddenly, the girl turned to the travelers and thanked them for gathering. Then she quickly moved on to the quest details to obtain the crab. The person asked what was happening and was surprised that he knew nothing at all. The girls told him that it was a very dangerous, crazy crab thing. They said that the world is full of crazy crabs and this very crab is famous for its great migration during the breeding season. The man said that in his world he had heard something similar. He explained, crabs migrate straight into the city, and the girls replied that they could not cause harm. There are many strong warriors here. Version 1. Then a miracle happened. Is it really possible to cook a crab in this world? But in the end, he preferred the bed. He went into the store and asked for the best bed. The man offered him a faux pride bed. The man decided that 43,000 balsh was too expensive, but the seller explained they were made specifically for this, custom made, and guarantee a magical feeling. The man started talking about reviews and finally allowed another to experience it firsthand. Then Kay suggested to Lori to lie down on the bed. She lay down, covered Herselfan suddenly fell into the void. Her body began to rise into the air as if on clouds. For a moment the girl disappeared and even Laura suddenly felt an unprecedented lightness. The man decided he was exaggerating but then told him to try it himself. He lay down on the bed and realized he needed to buy it. He carries the purchase on his back, remembering Kay to allow the girls to sleep together. After this he explained that it was a joke and suddenly the guards shouted. A crab managed to enter the city just as the crab appeared before these people. The crab jumped out in front of the people and rushed forward, overtaking Kai. He noticed that the monster was calm and quickly drew his sword. The man swung the sword and made a strike at the swing but cut the crab when suddenly Famil shouted from where. From behind, another crab pounced on her. Kai saw this and decided to act. He suddenly covered himself with a sheet, broke the bed, and fell on his shoulder. The crab fell to the ground and the man began to miss him. Famila spent her money trying to comfort him. The girl said that it happened accidentally and suggested that if she talks to the guild, she will get her money back. But the man replied that everything was fine and decided not to complain because he was no longer a child. Kay said that he was not just angry, very angry, and promised to kill all the crabs above him, knowing that the other crabs were the same even outside the city walls. He immediately rushed to the accident site where the guards were fighting against the monster forces. One strike and he spat out vomit in order with everyone. The warrior crabs asked what Kai was doing and shouted that it was a very reckless act. Suddenly, the crab lunged at the man from behind. Then he noticed it and fought back. Kai realized the mud hindered his movements. He decided to use it, swung his leg, and landed a deep muddy strike. When the other crabs moved forward, the man used fire and pushed them back. Seeing this, another warrior could not resist and asked who he was. Kay finished the next batch and suddenly began looking for the rest of the crab tails. Someone threw it in front of the man sitting on the dragon and asked him to remove the thing from the road. The man ordered him to clear it so as not to waste time arguing. Seeing the confidence with which he spoke, he bet on whether he could move the thing from its place. Suddenly he grabbed the dragon. At the very moment, he threw the man along with the dragon upwards and said that he did it joyfully. He landed on a tree and people raised the alarm, began calling him Captain K version 1. It looked too much like suddenly a big crab approached him from behind. And he began blowing bubbles and they turned out to be a trap. As soon as the bubble poisoned him, people started screaming. But he remained calm. The bubble burst and the poison could not take effect because he would resist it. He noticed a large crab behind him and used a flamethrower to destroy it. Two crabs attacked him from behind and clamped his throat. A window opened in front of him and, using the newly acquired ability of the poisonous compound, he poisoned the crabs and they fell to the ground. People were shocked and began to suspect that he was not human at all. Seeing this, the crabs began to retreat and the man asked if this was really all they were capable of. The crab realized its bravery only a moment later. Kai felt something big and aggressive behind his back. People recognized the Boston crab in him and shouted at the man as he fled, not taking their eyes off Kane's eyes. The crab said that many had tried to get his meat, but all they got was death. Crossing his claws, he triumphed had finally found a worthy opponent. Kai decided to join the fight and take revenge. He opened fire. When the fire went out, he saw nothing had happened to the crab. Suddenly the man went on the counterattack. He retreated, climbing up the crab's claw and struck from above, but his swing broke the sword and Kai was very surprised. At that moment the crab waved its claw and threw him. The man fell to the ground and was thrown several times until he died. When Kaya woke up, she realized everything had gone awry. Suddenly she heard someone's voices and saw the silhouette of a bird in the sky. Sky landed on the nearest hill and introduced himself as Genbu Chicken. Genbu greeted Kai and said that diving into a swarm of crabs without the right strategy is not very wise. He asked the man to listen carefully and said that the Heavenly Kings sharpened their powers because of the fight. He recalled, K8 killed his brother and took his power and experience. Genbu asked the man to believe in them. After that he admitted that he did not want to see him die even before their fight and flew away. Kei did not understand that Genbu was here but decided not to dwell on it. She threw the sword and prepared to fight the crabs that tried to stab her, but the man managed to dodge. Then he decided to use the power he gained in the forest. Kei used spiral drilling to deflect all attacks. After that, he took a strong bastard sword from Yuru and turned on his reckless bravery. Then the man combined all this with his martial arts skills. This time the crab did not move. It decided it would survive the blow. Kei struck a very strong attack right on the big forehead of the crab. In a moment the monster was thrown far beyond sight. The crab flew back after the usual strike and finally fell back. He laughed and was amazed by his success. People started talking about his victory over Boston's crab. Kai sighed with relief, and suddenly it was all over. The man grabbed her from behind and happily announced that he was starting to like her, and when the guild travelers gathered all the crabs, they called them all together. All the cooks who knew how to prepare them, every traveler who participated in the TASED battle, tried the amazing crab soup, and Kei, as the most prominent, took the main prize, amazing Boston crab legs. The girls approached the man and he said they arrived just in time. As soon as they saw the peak quality crab with vegetables and tofu, they immediately exclaimed that it looked incredibly delicious. Laura said that this dish was fit for a king and praised the man for the preparation. The women began to look at the dish with disgust. Kai asked her if she was hungry, and she replied that she was losing to hungry awareness. Then Laura decided to support her and said that it was necessary to take it now and considered it unacceptable to just give up like that. The girl said that her speech was successful and the man decided to support her. He said that she was right in some ways and recalled the proverb, "He who does not work does not eat." They added to the theory that the crab goes to those who fight in battle and it cannot be given to a girl. Then Laura boasted about him and promised to start a new life as a goddess, to give herself completely in order to ask for at least a piece with a smile. Kai said he was just joking and then gave her a big crab leg. Laura admired the taste of the food, and the man suddenly imagined her naked, covered in sauce. He said that it tastes incredibly delicious. She started asking Kei for more and he agreed. They continued this again and again, eating lunch and watching the woman who was crying with joy. The man said that this was above all. The city chiefs also prepared many other dishes. He really felt it spreading inside him softly like a slow breath, and the taste of crab in his mouth gradually faded over time. Kei saw a sad family near the gates. He asked what had happened. The girl insisted. While she was fighting death there, she could not find anything she could help with. In the end, Famila concluded that she was only a burden then and apologized for the strange conversations that happened. Kei decided to check her status. It turned out that she was really at level 17. And decided that her stats did not show that she was weaker than an ordinary mage. The man was about to further fuel his own pride when suddenly someone called the girl from behind, where two men were standing. He says that Kei helped them a lot. The crab invasion, and at that very time on behalf of the guild, he expressed the deepest gratitude, adding that, according to testimony, he was the most productive in battle. He also injured the captain of Wyvern. Kei began to apologize, but the girl stopped him. She explained that she just wanted to make sure this was really the right thing to do because the captain himself provoked the dispute. But after their taxes were cut, they decided to do it to avenge their suffering. Today the girl finally hoped that there would be no more such incidents, while Kei was counting money 100,000 balshi and realized that he could again buy a bed for himself. This time the person managed to buy a bed without any adventures. And after lunch with the crabs, his level sharply rose from 1335 to 1535. Laura suddenly remembered Famila's words about burdens and awakening. She seized on this and told a story, hesitating whether she really wanted to make women her servants like men. She said that with divine power she could draw out more spells and abilities. Then she added, if Laura takes Femel, she can get more goddess points. The girl considered this and replied that maybe so. Laura told her that to learn even first-level magic, at least 3,000 belief points are needed. Kei understood. She would have to give 30,000 balsh for her sacrifice. For her this was a lot of money, but that man was ready to pay. They had just started talking when suddenly they heard a noise. Laura said it was not Kei. Kei realized something was happening upstairs. Suddenly a chicken sat on her head and she saw it in the forest. Suddenly the chick took off and turned into a girl who forgot to introduce herself. She introduced herself as Ceres, a goddess who would share her knowledge with them. Kei asked if he was one of Laura's colleagues and she replied that they studied in the same class. Then Ceres noticed that Laura had not changed and called her a pest. Kei asked if the goddess who came had been watching them while they were stuck in the forest, but she asked not to look at it that way. Ceres said that when the man was called into this world, he was given absorption magic and he claimed that this potential was limitless. The experienced goddess warned to be careful when talking about the man and asked which method she meant. Ceres turned to Laura and asked if she had an ability called transferability, and she hesitantly answered, yes. Kay asked about this and the girl explained, this ability transfers any ability from one owner to another. She then said that the abilities the man got from the monster he ate could be transferred to Femel or anyone else at least, that's how it seemed. Sari said it was better to use this transfer than to wait for the girl to return the invested money, and the interlocutor agreed. Kay decided she was right and wondered if there was something else besides transfers that could be done with this ability. He agreed, spent 1,000 trust points, and learned Sari's transferability. The time had come, so he would go. He remembered how he took care of Laura when she was in the forest, and suggested she try harder than the master, starting to touch her cheek. And said that the girl should call her mistress, and she agreed with him otherwise. Kai noticed, this goddess does not forgive. And he finally left. The next day they set out for the guild. There, the man learned that he had been promoted to rank D. Effa said it was a special case. She explained that the ranking system was created so that adventurers would take tasks corresponding to their abilities in turn to avoid the greatest number of casualties. And the girl confessed because Kay was a complete disaster, and then chaos began. Despite everything, he helped her up. They shook hands and the man said, thank you. Effa suddenly offered to promote Laura in rank but warned that they could be punished with a hefty fine. Kay refused and Laura gradually began to get angry. As a result, I promoted them both to rank D, and Effa gave them a task from Lilina. A task for which the girl urgently apologized and asked for help. Kai immediately saw that this was an F-rank task and offered the girls to help them. She was uncomfortable, but eventually she agreed. When they arrived at the place, they were met by a skilled girl blacksmith, Lana, and Sisler recognized her as a famous princess. There were rumors about her that she carried a giant axe, and many travelers believed she had already reached the peak of her skills. Feeling this, Lana became embarrassed and said that it was a long time ago, after which she explained she needed to extract ore and drive it there, handing Kay an axe and admitting that she wanted to see his strength. The man refused and pointed to Femel, saying she would take care of it. Lana was extremely confused, tightly gripping her weapon, and sharply asked, what do these words mean? The young woman will work, not Kai. Lana lowered the axe to the ground, and the first thing she noticed were Femel's trembling knees. She stared at Kai and asked if he was sure everything would be fine. The family grabbed Kai's hand and then she shouted at the man that she couldn't. She said she was unable to swing this axe because she couldn't even lift it when she hears it. She can't endure for too long. She pulled the woman to herself and quickly lifted her as if she were a sack of potatoes, then threw her over her shoulder while the frightened girl screamed. She turned to leave, then politely apologized and asked if they could go for a few minutes. While Femel kept screaming in fear, she blushed a little until Kai took her aside. After spending some time on the road, he carefully put her down on the ground, then stepped back and tried to say something. But due to awkwardness, the words wouldn't come. He blushed slightly and awkwardly scratched his face. He didn't know how to do it right. He wondered whether to tell her everything directly. But he decided that it was not the best idea, just as Femel told him. And still hesitantly, he asked if she wanted to tell her that Laura was a goddess and that she herself was just as strong because she received her power from her. In his thoughts, as soon as it happened, he turned away from her and asked if she had hit her head. He wouldn't have been too surprised if she really reacted that way. He sighed heavily and approached her. While Famila stood confused, he suddenly stretched out his hand and touched the wall behind the girl. Because of this, Famila was shot. She screamed, trembled, and asked what he was trying to do. Kay saved her and asked the girl to listen carefully. He put his hand on her face. From this, she blushed deeply. He turned to Femel. After that, he said seriously that he saw great prospects in her career as a traveler. He moved and left, leaving silence behind. He was quite foolish because he did not expect the conversation to change here within these walls. Kai said he could not go into details, but was able to awaken some hidden powers that lurked somewhere inside her. He squeezed her hand and said that if she wanted, he could help. After this, the family was confused. She shouted that she did not understand anything until she could give away her power. Then she tried to see how the girl trembled. In these thoughts, something surfaced in someone's mind. She felt guilt. The reason for such an open reaction was not indifferent to her. A little later, she took Laura and whispered to her, asking if she had given her the ability she received as a subordinate. They had a problem. Laura quickly said that everything would be fine. Kai scrolled through the screen and decided she would choose the first-level axe art from the catalog that Laura mentioned, called Addie's. Come closer. Then she placed her hand on the head and activated her ability. Femil stepped back and asked if that was enough. Kay nodded and ordered her to take the axe. Under everyone's gaze, Femil grabbed the handle. Then a bit clumsily, her hands trembled, but she swung with all her might and hit the tree with the axe. He put all his strength into each strike, hitting the tree again and again. He exerted considerable effort, so the object split into two parts. Femil sharply swung once more. The axe ended up behind her back. He overtook her, and because of this, he began to fall backward right behind the weapon. Lana appeared and, smiling, realized that she was really holding the axe. This greatly surprised the woman. Lana praised the girl for a good job. Kay approached Addis and asked how the girl was doing. A bit awkwardly, Addis said that as soon as she took the axe, the knowledge of how to hold and use it seemed to flow into her head. Suddenly she stopped abruptly, was very surprised, and looked at the axe handle. She asked if this was the hidden power they had talked about earlier. The man continued, if so, then he would give the rest to her. The girl nodded and smiled broadly. Later, Kayada and Lana again began to take off. The girl, who clung to her breath exhaustedly, fell to the floor and leaned against the axe. She was very tired. Famia looked at the people and apologized, saying that perhaps this was once her limit. After that, a thought appeared. Maybe her weapon skills were harder because of the low strength index she received from the woman's lands. Then he praised the girl. She said that now she understood how everything was arranged. Then he apologized for having to be part of her little experiment. In a moment, he smiled broadly and said that he was actually very happy to be able to help. After that, he laughed gently. Lana looked inside Kay and immediately declared, now it was her turn. She handed over the axe and said that she had already heard enough about its power from Lilina. That's why she wanted her to show her strength. Suddenly, Kay threw the weapon aside and declared that he didn't need the axe at all. He raised his hand and asked Lana to bring his strongest sword and all the ore he hoped to extract. After some time, the needed ore gathered in one place. Kay carefully dragged it onto the log and there grew a small pile. Then he threw one of the stones into the air. After that, he began tossing all the ore into the air until nothing was left on the log. When all the ore was in the air, Kay instantly grabbed the handle with a quick gesture and made two sharp sword strikes simultaneously in his hand, causing the ore in the air to shatter with a crash. Kay turned around and lowered the sword so quickly that the ore was still hanging in the air. The next moment, the stones covering it crumbled and everything Lana needed was already very close. Kay carefully returned the sword to its sheath, plunging it into the ground, and then the ore quickly fell to the ground. The work was completed. Lana stared at him in surprise, then loudly exclaimed, trying to figure out what she had just seen. Kay turned around and asked if everything was all right. Lana was intently staring at the paddle and disbelief froze on her face. She looked directly at the clean paddle and stated that the whole problem was actually that it wasn't there. She took a slow breath and burst out laughing. Kay slapped Kai on the shoulder and said she couldn't imagine how he managed to become so strong in the world they live in. She took his hand. Then she curled up into a ball and said she already liked him. Next, she asked what he thought about a full-time position in his workshop. Kai raised his hand and declared that he refused. Lana reached out for a long time, called him and asked not to make such conclusions immediately. After some time, Lana signed her name and said the task was completed. As soon as the paper was signed, Kai suddenly turned to her and said that he really wanted the woman to train to fight. After that, Lana was noticeably surprised. Kay asked if Lana knew any place where the monster was weak so they could train. Hearing this, Lana thought. She raised her hand to her chin, closed her eyes, and asked for time to think. Then she asked if they were ready to prove it to her. In response, Kay clarified what exactly the girl wanted. Lana said, if you leave the town to the east, go through the forest, below near the volcano there will be a small cave. In the cave there is a material called pebbles, and Lana, burning with desire, wanted it to be retrieved. She smiled and said there was a rank E monster there, but she believed people of their level would definitely have no problems with it. Kay agreed and replied that everything would be fine. The girl said everything was fine and promised to go to the guild to make a special request for them. Suddenly she stopped, hesitated, looked around, and asked what the man's real name was. His name was Kasukai. Kay responded by giving his full name at Lana's request. Lana repeated his name and smiled. She said she would try to remember it. Next day, they set off to the guild to get Lana's request. With the new sword that Laura received, they headed to the family volcanic cave and asked if she had spoken about ice magic before. Kai said he had heard that many fire monsters lived nearby, so he thought she needed to learn something before they arrived. He also said it would be useful for her to get used to the new. In his opinion, it was worth fully committing to it. Famila exclaimed that she would be fine. She said this to stand on Kay. She had prepared for everything in advance. Kay waved his hand and asked. The girl obediently bowed her head and did as he asked. Kay placed his hand on Famila's head and suddenly used transfer magic. Everything around the girl and she herself rejoiced in this power. Kai released his hand and ordered the woman to try. The girl agreed. She lowered her staff and closed her eyes to better concentrate on the next moment. The other end of the shining staff gleamed brightly. She pulled it out and commanded the ice needle so calm as to shatter all her enemies. After these words, her staff flared brighter, and then the icy beam grew larger with sharp ends that scattered away from her. She summoned the icy needle mantra. An extraordinary force began destroying many trees very close by until it reached the last tree anchored in an icy stake. It hit it but did not completely destroy it. Stunned by what had happened, Femily silently stared at her staff, while Laura and Kay watched how far the girl's attack boundary had disappeared. After Famila blushed and squeezed her stick very nervously, she said she did not know why it happened, but as soon as she took the stick, these words surfaced in her memory, and she did it. Laura, who finally recovered from the shock, shouted to the woman that it was incredibly fair. She said that Femil might not know, but magical abilities are very complex and usually you don't master them in the first 5 minutes. Kay patted the girl on the shoulder and said she did well. Femil raised her hand and began to object. Embarrassed but with a happy smile, she said it was all thanks to Kei's strength helped her become like this. The man laughed and replied that she shouldn't be so modest. Then he turned around and asked the others if they were ready to go into the cave. After some time, they arrived at the entrance to Kei Cave. Kei took a step forward and looked around. Then she exclaimed that it was incredible how bright it was here. Laura came closer and guessed that the fiery mana was hidden in these radiant stones, all painted in red shades. Now a few bats were watching the people who had disturbed their peace. The demon sensed a presence that matched his unique skill. Flaming tongues surrounded him. Tension was rising. Preparing to devour another creature, the demon declared his intention to become stronger through flesh. So far, the girl with bunny ear headphones has encountered a slimy monster that crawled out without warning. She threw Ice Needle, hitting the creature right in the air, but fatigue was already hitting hard. When the next creature lunged forward, the swordsman emerged, cutting it down with one stroke and instantly shielded the girl. Emma decisively stepped forward into the fight. Femil gratefully retreated, leaving him to deal with the approaching threats. After the battle, the team gathered pebbles to complete the quest before taking a short break. Kama led the party to the protected recreation area inside Bavaria Volcano, and she was overcome with nostalgia. He decided to cook wolf meat, but during cooking, the foul smell overwhelmed him with its force. Despite the smell, the dish looked appetizing. Everyone admired how delicious the meat looked. Wolf meat surprised everyone. Its tender texture and taste turned out to be unexpectedly pleasantly deceptive and incredibly delightful. While the others chatted, Femil quietly joined them, clutching her meaty skewer without hesitation. Swallowing with precise bites, she ate her portion, then quickly drank to wash it all down. Embarrassed, she apologized for overeating and blamed it all on 100th aftermath of the exhausting fight that had happened before. Kima checked the indicators. T-Kamil raised the level 8 times, and it was an incredible growth rate overnight. While they had not yet managed to leave, the ground shook and he froze, uttering half a word, feeling that something was terribly wrong. A petrified roar thundered, and the cave wall exploded. Dust and debris burst into the air. Tearing through the stone, a monstrous figure burst out of it. His voice thundered and fear covered them. The party instantly recognized him as a fiery elemental, an ancient monster with extraordinary destructive power. Despite the threat, the team remained calm. Barriers kept them safe. They planned to call for reinforcements. A huge blow shattered the protective barrier. Bear explosions followed, and debris rained down on the cave floor. Kema drew his sword, fiercely giving orders while Laura and Femil dodged the blazing shockwaves. Quietly, but Kima warned them, he would not be able to fight freely until they got out of the way. Despite hesitation, Femil grabbed Laura's hand and forced them both to flee from Pema's sacrifice attempt. With a roar, the fiery elemental chased them, swearing that no one would leave alive today. A stone boulder collapsed between them. Femil grabbed Laura and pulled her away literally a moment before the strike hit the spot. Debris rained down from the air. The girls realized the cave had begun collapsing from all sides. Without slowing down, Femil shouted, grabbed Laura's hand, and they both jumped through the crumbling path. From a safe landing outside, they turned around and saw the entrance was blocked tight. Even the ceiling Kema inside there was only it alone. Despite the fear, Laura agreed. Femil reminded that Kimi needed reinforcements right now, more than ever. Suddenly, another fire elemental rose in their path, bigger, fiercer, and crackling, pierced by the wild energy of flame. Femil froze in shock. The elemental that appeared a second time was something no one could have predicted. Blazing flames roared around her, but she stood her ground, afraid, yet stubbornly holding on and resisting alone. Chanting her spell, Thamil unleashed a barrage of icy needles that pierced the burning fire. The attack hit but barely stopped the monster. She knew she needed more power right now. The ice magic failed. The fire elemental just shrugged and prepared for a brutal counterattack. Laura screamed for Femil to run, her eyes wide with fear as the flames dangerously approached. Without hesitation, Femil charged at the monster, intercepting its strike with her own burning determination. The elemental's claws dug into her and pinned her to the ground. Laura panicked as Femil fell, wounded but still conscious. Barely standing, she whispered for Laura to flee. Her strength was fading, and she was preparing for death. Laura stepped forward, furious and threatening to unleash divine wrath if the monster did not immediately release Femil. The monster's fist strike hit squarely. Laura crashed into the wall with a bang, and Femil barely stayed conscious. Powerless and bound, Femil believed her defeat was inevitable, reduced only to a bite. A voice rang through the flames in despair, "Don't give up," and it kindled her fading will to fight. With trembling hands, Femil acknowledged her flaws, but determination flared again as she prepared. Femil thought of Kima, strong, devoted, and kind. He was the first man she loved. Clenching the weapon in her hands until it hurt, she screamed and pulled from herself the will to live until he would come for rescue. The monster mocked her resolve. Laura helplessly watched as Femil fought in the demon's grave. Despite the mockery, she devised a plan and focused all her magic into one decisive strike. Filled with burning determination, Femil shouted her spell. Ice needles hit directly and, piercing through the demon's face, stopped inside him. The elemental writhed in pain, and Laura grabbed him by the food when he fell, whispering apologies through tears and exhaustion. It was then that Kima returned, leaping from behind and striking the demon with cold precision. Landing beneath the beast, he caught the moment when its claws clicked and without hesitation drove the sword upward. The demon split in half and fell, defeated. Everyone froze in shock when Kema confirmed he survived. Calmly, Kamen explained everything, how he used his skills to break through and reach them. Jaime gripped Femil after her previous confession. She collapsed from shame and begged Kaim to finish reading. While he carried her in his arms, a plate of collapse struck from below and completely across. Laura scolded him, but there was already gratitude in her voice. Remaining semi-conscious, Femil heard Kema calling her name. His voice trembled with anxiety as he asked. Kaim smiled and invited her to join their team forever. Femil's eyes first filled with tears, then sparkled with sparks. With a joyful smile, she accepted it. Her courage earned her a place and a future. Kaima and his team come out of the cave with relief because they finally reach the forest clearing safely. Lilana runs quickly towards them, anxiously asking if any threatening monsters have appeared nearby. Kaima calmly explains, during their journey through the cave, they were attacked by 2 fire elementals. He calms the panicking group by showing that he has already removed the threat without any external help. To prove this, Kaima shows elementary claws and shocks everyone with indisputable evidence of his solo victory. When she was asked why she came, Lilana told that 2 travelers disappeared inside the neighboring volcano. In elevated tones in her voice, she tells about increasingly alarming fears regarding numerous recent disappearances of adventurers. With gratitude for their efforts, Lilana promises additional payment, praising the team for defeating the elementals. Returning to the city, the party receives the reward and the reputation of their guild grows again. During preparations for training, Kama reflects on how Pemia has become more confident and reliable. Emil collapses on the bed. She is overwhelmed by physical exhaustion from rapid growth spurts. Despite obvious fatigue, she apologizes for becoming a burden while others take care of things around her. Kaima gently soothes her and reminds, he is her teacher, so it is time for her to rest. Later, the group prepares to head to the guild, and Femil shows a fresh, updated style for the first time. Blushing from Kama's sincere compliment, Femil shyly hides her gaze and already after 3 days wakes up full of strength and fully recovered. With determination in her eyes, Femil clenches her fist and prepares to move forward alone. Fully recovered, she cheerfully encourages Kama before heading to the guild for the next task. In a month, she proudly burst into the frame, announcing that she had risen to E rank, and the camera even caught it with amazement. Kaima happily boasts about her rapid progress, showing an impressive level increase in her attribute growth. Showing her latest award, Femil says that the banquet turned out to be lively and excited to celebrate their recent success. Excited with a blush on her cheeks, Femil offers her award as sincere thanks for mastering the ice needle spell. Kama hesitates because of her living expenses, but Femel insists she will survive on little anyway. Despite Kaima's refusal, Tamil bursts with emotions determined to repay and somehow express sincere gratitude. Another companion spoils the mood. He playfully scolds Kama and compares how differently he behaved with her before. Whispers to Kimi in the ear, let her accept the effort with food and trust her growth. After being warned not to make Femel cry, Kama decides to make a request. The dish quietly finishes cooking while she unobtrusively changes into unusual clothes that Kama asked her to wear this time. Completely changed, she nervously introduces herself, confused by the short skirt and the unfamiliar look of her outfit. Kama explains his traditional hospitality attire from his hometown, and now she must call him Masto. Although uncertain, Femel gladly agrees, while Kama quietly struggles with a growing sense of guilt inside. Femel diligently finishes her tasks and reports to Kama while he rests, enjoying the peaceful atmosphere. Despite shyness, she prepares to fulfill Kama's request, trusting his judgment as her master. With an expression of hesitation, she offers herself in service, uncertain, yet fully devoted to obedience. Without any hesitation, Kama lays his head on her lap. He is enveloped by comfort and pure pleasure. Blushing from warmth, Femel gently embraces the moment and promises to pamper her lord all day. A sharp knock makes Femel flinch. The guest bursts out with a request, quickly asking where Kame is now. Introducing herself as Lalona, she asks Kama for help in a private matter concerning her family. As soon as Lalona examines what is happening inside, her face darkens. She is clearly displeased with what she sees. Kama tries to explain the misunderstanding, but Lalona withdraws and the group shifts attention elsewhere. Later they visit Lelina's home, where Kama meets the refined client again after a long separation. And she praises Kaima's growing reputation. Her decision to recruit him was the right one. She quickly gives the escort order to escort and protect the cargo carriage at a long distance. The final point is a remote workshop, and Kaima carefully examines the trade goods they are carrying. Calmly, Lelina explains that the package contains only ores, dismissing any suspicions of illegal activity. For high pay and low risk, Kema agrees to the job. She is satisfied with the offer. He formally accepts the mission while the group prepares to depart together, as a state from Leyline. Lelina reveals that her sister Lalona, a famous fencer, will join the escort. Samuel cheerfully greets Lalona, unaware of the tension still lingering after their previous misunderstanding. Lalona confidently asserts her strength but keeps the introduction brief, no unnecessary words, businesslike and firm. In a moment, she admits she is worried about strange mutant monsters and the sudden sharp increase in adventurer attacks. Lalona warns the group about mysterious mutated species and demands extreme caution on the mountain trail. Despite the warning, Lalona downplays the threat, believing her own strength is enough to handle any danger ahead. Lelina reassures her sister while encouraging Kima to live up to expectations and protect their travel party. Confidently, Kema assures everyone, during the mission he will prove his worth without hesitation. When the last words are exchanged, Lelina gives the signal that the group is setting off, and Leliani admits Kemo's determination only grows. The caravan sets off on a long journey across quiet plains, surrounded on all sides by forest and in the distance mountain ridges. In the carriage, the team relaxes and plays cards, passing time during the uneventful early part of the road. Ilona silently watches Kema, resolutely deciding to test his true strength with her own careful assessment. Forgotten places through the traveler's cart, a spy looked through a spyglass, hiding motionless and silently in the dense forest. Smiling treacherously, the bandit prepares an ambush, thus waiting for his next naive victims. In the carriage, the group relaxes until one of the adventurers senses danger and demands an immediate stop. Leaping forward, she orders the hidden enemies to come out. They are sure they are nearby. Armed bandits jump out of the shadows, leaping down with weapons drawn, ready to start the attack. They are surrounded on all sides. The carriage crew understands there will be no escape until there is a confrontation or negotiations. Smiling bandits boldly demand food and money, feigning politeness while clearly preparing for aggression. Without any hesitation, the warrior girl calmly refuses and warns the bandit that she does not need futile delays. Instead of listening, the gang mockingly laughs, brushing off her threats as if these are empty words born of arrogance. One reckless fellow crosses the line, grabs her by the shoulders, and a cold look and a quiet command fall upon him, "Let go." Without a pause, she draws her sword and with one motion slices the hand of the angry man. Clenching the wound, the bandit leader growls in pain, and his men raise alarmed cries. With a fierce scream, he lunges forward, raising his sword to cruelly cut her down, striking mercilessly. The elven warrior jumps over the blow, stands above him from a height, and prepares to deliver a decisive strike from the air. With one powerful arcing strike, she cuts downward and the boss is knocked off his feet, thrown away with brutal force. Standing over the fallen boss, she challenges the others, questioning whether they have the will to continue the fight. The battle continues, whistles in the air, and reinforcements arrive. The bandits reorganize, holding confidently, and threaten revenge for their fallen leader. Without hesitation, the dark-haired man extends help. She nods and quietly accepts his support right in the middle of the fight. Suddenly, she is pushed forward with a jerk right into the very heart of the enemy. She is stunned and does not understand what just happened. When they take him in a ring, the man nervously swallows saliva. She grimaces in a smile and hands him the cleaning, lightly waving her hand in farewell as if joking. The enraged bandit wildly lunges forward, the blade raised to strike down, with a single blow, what seems to be a defenseless man. Calmly, he intercepts the strike, then responds with a kick and throws the attacker into flight. Suddenly, the shooters bring their crossbows to battle, trying to finish off from a safer distance. Before they manage to shoot, he splits himself into clones and rushes forward, confusing all three archers. Each clone attacks flawlessly, delivers devastating blows, and disables crossbowmen before they can react. In silence falls, the party watches the last blows. The last bandits groan from humiliation, completely broken. Lalona quietly watches, surprised by his agility. He handled everything much more easily than she expected. When the threats were gone, the group set off again. A calm voice orders everyone to move on. Later, under the evening sky, Lalona relaxes and quietly eats while the horses are being tended. She notices the silence of the bunny girl, gently offers her food and soothes her, assuring her that she does not need to feel guilty. Lalona encourages the girl rabbit, reminding her to look closely and learn not to feel useless. A bunch of snacks slipped in and she praises his skill. He shyly asks for fewer sudden inspections next time. The attempt to divert attention turns into an evaluation of Lalona's fencing. Laura picks up on this, nodding embarrassedly and overly exaggeratedly in agreement. Lalona rejects praise, explaining that what drove her to fight was not vanity but survival. Hearten becomes almost solemn when sharing its orphaned past, showing that survival shaped its entire path. Lalona recalls her past, abandoned and without parents, raised alone, a half-elf without any relatives. She was sent to a poor orphanage where she often went hungry, and at 7 years old began hunting with a sword. Every day she fought for food, honing the blade against monsters to survive. Thanks to innate swordsmanship skills and the mercy of a noblewoman, she earned her place and survived. Moved by her honesty, the bunny girl quietly admires Lalona's strength, a strength gained through loss, not luck. Laura reflects on her own loneliness, then asks Lalona why she chose the path of a wanderer. Confused, Laura admits her dream, to eat normally and sleep enough without any worries or limits. Lalona gently smiles and explains that such carefree lives are available only to the most gifted few. Noticing the time, she apologizes and goes on guard, and Laura guiltily agrees to rest. Laura wonders aloud, maybe she is secretly a genius, but Kema instantly and bluntly dismisses it. No. A week passes, the party does not relax. They are still on alert, ready to keep watch as their journey continues. Although monsters appeared on the route, the group resolved every threat without serious incidents and without breaking the law. Eventually, they arrive safely, tired but intact, at the place they had waited for so long, where their shared trial ends. She warmly welcomes them, announcing their arrival at the Golden Prairie's workshop with a smile. Lalona unloads the materials and the gnome respectfully greets them, recognizing both Lalona and her faithful companion. Quiet breaks near the box. There is pure mithril, an extremely rare and incredibly valuable material. As soon as Lalona offers a tour, Lalona interrupts her, demanding urgently to wait. Lalona asks Kema to talk privately. He is confused but agrees and follows her outside. Her face sharpens. She declares that the path is now clear and immediately glances as if this should be alarming. Before he can recover, she snatches a blade and points it straight at Kame's chest. She threw a sharp challenge, demanded that he fight her without hesitation, without reasons, only sharp determination. Kema froze in shock when the warrior woman raised her sword and demanded a fight without any reason. Her rage burned his face as if someone from her past was reflected there, who raised long-buried pain and confusion. Bleed. Blades flashed right by his neck. She called a name he did not recognize, and the tension grew even more. She would give clarity only through a fight. If he won, the truth would finally surface. Without any choice, he drew his sword. Duels for answers were inevitable. Taking a stance, she announced the start. Both fighters prepared for the first clash without wasting no time. She lunged forward, blade drawn, aiming straight to end the duel instantly. Their swords met with explosive force, and the shockwave rolled through the surrounding forest. To her surprise, he parried the strike. She staggered, puzzled by his unexpected strength. Realizing her mistake, she paled with shame, lost not because of skill, but because of miscalculation. Startled by the unexpected result, she questioned her own skills and doubted her recent training. She retreated reluctantly, insisting that she was tired. The duel ended early, although she still praised his potential. He pointed to his victory. Irritated and humiliated, she silenced him with a loud retort. Seeing her anger, he stubbornly demanded answers. She hesitated at first, but eventually agreed to tell, and began to reveal her past, how her childhood in an orphanage engraved a harsh worldview, and then the village survived the war. Lelona's mother fell seriously ill, and her father went to the army for money. They waited endlessly for his return. A messenger came, but no father ever returned home. The accusations changed to embezzlement, desertion, betrayal. Her father disappeared, and the family fell into poverty. As a loner and outcast, Lelona felt not sympathy but judgment, judged for her father's deed, only reproaches for his shame. Her mother died helplessly. She cut off faith in others, trusting only comrades who never abandoned her, still wary. Lelona threatens swift judgment if he ever shows signs of betrayal or deceit. He calmly explained his loyalty and swore to earn her trust through persistence and results. Lelona's firm appearance cracked silently, yet he blushed, struck by his own determination and sincere persistence. Confused, she feigned doubt. Someone else approached, interrupting her while Lelona tried to maintain her usual appearance. Lelona entered with warm grace, and the moment seemed to change. As soon as she saw her sister, Lelona's face softened. She playfully deflected suspicion while the group explored the forge, which breathed work with steel and flame. In Hamlet, armor development was in full swing. Dwarves crafted equipment relying on skills passed down from generation to generation. She presented her best work, mithril ware, a strong fabric resistant to magic, used in Lelona's combat gear. Lelona insisted on a demonstration. Embarrassed, Lelona still agreed and reluctantly began preparing to test how durable this clothing was. Now at full power, Lelona gathered herself, tensed, and cast a spell to test the protection. Fireball covered Lelona, but the magical clothing held, impressing everyone with its effectiveness. Lelona praised the protective qualities of the material, then invited them to see how mithril ware is produced. Mithril dust mixed with enriched soil grows special leaves fed to silkworms to create a threat. When the cocoons mature, they are boiled and collected, leaving silky, strong fibers ready for weaving. Such softness amazed Kimu. She examined the fiber, openly admiring it. Lelona casually shifted the conversation to dessert. Lelona quietly raised 2 fingers. The demonstration was over, and she had important matters to discuss. In a peaceful forest cabin on a tree, she served them a handmade white berry strawberry cheesecake. Everyone gathered around the table. The cake, a local specialty, impressed them with its presentation. Laura greedily bit into the first piece, praising the taste, while Kima cautiously examined the dessert. Laughter rolled out as Laura exaggeratedly showed delight. Kima admitted a slight envy of her cheerful, simple worldview. Lelona revealed troubling news. Mutated beasts had appeared nearby, and Lelona led the defense. She asked Kema to support Lelona emotionally. He agreed, though it was clear he was nervous about this challenge. The second plot arrived following the create. The same mighty mithril seam as before filled him. She suggested equipping everyone with enhanced gear, emphasizing the need for safety despite proven strength. Kima noticed the reduced price perfectly matched the level of their raised eyebrows at the desire for a raise, while Lelona only smiled playfully. She emphasized armor of long-term value is truly useful, and demonstrating it can enhance visibility. Kame hesitated over the weapon. Its shape sharply stood out and was of little use in battle. Before he could decide, Laura enthusiastically ordered 2 sets at once, one of them for Kema, without any hesitation. Embarrassed, Kima scolded her for deciding on her own. Laura justified herself, insisting that she knew his smile. Confidently smiling, she encouraged him to try, better to regret than never dare to do anything. Kima agreed to the purchase, jokingly deciding that Laura's share of the salary would cover the expenses. After placing the order, they settled in the workshop to spend the night and rest. While the others slept, Lelona continued her rounds, checking the defense and ensuring the territory remained securely protected. Despite concerns from others, she insisted, first finish the patrol and only then rest herself. Suddenly, a shadow appeared in the forest. Attention, Lelona shouted and demanded the figure identify themselves. A wounded traveler, stumbling, enters the village. His bloody, torn appearance shocks the guards. Clenching his wounds, he desperately begs for help, his voice trembling from panic and exhaustion. He explains that a mutated beast attacked his team, leaving his comrades in immediate danger. She woke up with barely any strength, slowly regaining consciousness, while the warrior carefully held her in protective arms. After confirming her safety, they discussed a new threat, an aggressive mutated creature, unseen before. He lowered his head in shame. He was accused of abandoning his ally during the brutal clash. Memories tore from him, the last cry of comrades. They begged to break free before the monster covered them both. Kneeling and bending, he swallowed his pride and begged them to lift the friend he left behind. After the plea, she agreed, her face hardening as she demanded exact details about the location. The younger girl watched anxiously as the fencer prepared to leave, resolute to face the danger alone. When the memories surfaced, she froze for a moment. For the first time, recalling Kame's quiet support, she began to doubt herself. Standing against the monster, she did not retreat a step. Her strength was forged by solitary survival. Shrouded in betrayal, she once swore independence, but now the concerns of others pierced her heart. She reaffirmed the vow calmly and firmly, deciding to face the threat despite any danger. With a stone gaze, she cast away past weakness, straightened to full height, standing against fear and uncertainty. Without hesitation, she jumped on the horse and, outrunning everyone, galloped forward at full speed before anyone could stop her departure. She swiftly crashed into the wilderness, leaving behind the desperate cry that came from the side of the doctor. Meanwhile, her wounded comrade Alan endured the blows, remained injured but was still conscious, and waited as hope slowly faded. With heavy breathing and sword ready, the wounded warrior challenged the giant beast without any hesitation. His blade struck flawlessly, a heavy blow, but the creature barely flinched from the impact. The Minotaur retaliated mercilessly, mocking the warrior's strength and pushing him ever closer to death. Despair spread across his face. He realized his attacks meant nothing against the mutated creature that was so tall. Suddenly, fierce gusts of wind tore through the air. She managed to reach and strike the monster, slicing it relentlessly with destructive force. With a precise airstrike, she delivered a devastating blow, and the Minotaur was knocked to the ground. When the creature fell, she turned to the wounded man and carefully checked his condition and wound. She calmly explained his arrival, helping him drink the potion that his comrade begged him to use. While he doubted her sacrifice, she assured him that the beast was no threat to her. Just as she turned to leave, the wounded man called out to her in despair, "Say at least something, ch." Stunned, he warned her this creature was abnormal. Its changing form created a much greater threat. He told how it first appeared as an orc, then was reborn and transformed into an ogre. After each defeat, it mutated again. Each wound gave it a stronger resurrection once more and activated the next, even more terrible form. Catching the pattern, she focused. A strike to its life core was the only way to stop the resurrection. She felt everything clearly again and rushed forward, aiming for the decisive blow to put an end to this once and for all. If they don't find the core, it will tear everything apart by hands and feet. She will destroy everything. While I was preparing to finish off the remains, something moved and the severed part began to move unnaturally again. Then a bloody eruption happened. She froze in place and watched as something huge rose from the fog. Shadowy hands grabbed her right in the middle of a thought. Pain jolted. This creature had learned, and now it struck back with revenge. Fully formed, the creature grew even larger, its power and presence sharply intensified. The beast transformed again, now into a cyclops. Before she could recover, it lunged forward with incredible speed. She barely managed to dodge its devastating blow. The force shattered the ground into pieces where she had just stood. Not retreating, she lunged upward. Rage and pride lifted her, but she did not want to show weakness. Her blade struck flesh but caused no harm. It adapted to her style of attack. A brutal counterstrike hit her exactly, knocking her down with a force meticulously planned and merciless. She was fiercely thrown back, and she screamed in pain as the raw power of the enemy broke her body and covered her from all sides. Crushed and exhausted, she tried to get up and realized how hard she was being hit now. A dull smile struck her right in despair. Weakened and powerless, she admitted the truth to herself. Memories of childhood loneliness returned and still echoed in her heart, silent pleas for help, lying again, broken and whispering the same old thought, begging for someone to come save her. Memories brought back those who once supported her. They brought faith, encouragement, and unwavering strength so she could move forward. Tears ran down her cheeks as she accepted the truth, the one she had waited for all her life. She would finally be saved. Exhausted, she sank to her knees, clutching her chest in despair, and finally spoke the words she had held deep inside for years. Her scream spread across the battlefield, wild, exhausted, and true, desperately begging for someone to come and save her. To her shock, the voice answered. He was waiting for her to finally ask. The monster froze in confusion, suddenly struck by a power he had neither seen nor felt. While she looked up in shocked disbelief, he landed calmly, composed, carrying in his arms the huge beast hanging motionless. He greeted her casually, easily, without visible effort, pulling the severed part of the monster as if it weighed nothing. Kumo rushes abruptly to the unconscious girl and carefully lifts her as soon as he notices her falling near the trees. She mindlessly looks at his outstretched hand, hesitates whether to trust or retreat again. Without warning, she slaps his hand away, her gaze is cold, posture firm, distrust and fear. Kuma steps back a step, freezing in surprise at her reaction, not understanding why her behavior changed so sharply. Tears flow in a stream. She questions his kindness and begs to be left alone despite the despair bursting out. Choked by emotions, Ryrna breaks into a cry of despair, unable to explain why she pushed him away. She admits her decision to fight alone, insisting she is no longer afraid to die again. Kama calmly says what he thinks, unmoved by her words, insisting that his life still has value. He sometimes encourages her to lean on him, reminding her of past moments when she was struggling. Smiling, he indifferently relieves the tension and says, helping her was natural as soon as someone asks. Realizing her mistake, Ravana reflects on her own pride and guilt. She feels that Tama has abandoned her. Without saying a word, she barely touches his shoulder and agrees to help, then quietly steps away. She turns around, thanks him for his help, and then entrusts him with the defense of this area. Kama laughs confidently, insisting that first they need to treat her wounds before he takes responsibility. While he prepares for battle, Kim notices the monster's hand has already fully regrown. He prepares a plan but hesitates as the monster rushes forward with fierce, relentless pressure. With sudden speed, he jumps into the air and strikes the monster right in the chest to stop its advance. The alliances manage to act in time, and sharing their analysis, they together find the monster's hidden weaknesses. Comparing statuses confirms this, despite the time indicating a higher level. The monster's raw stats surpass his own. Laura explains the true nature of the creature. It is a sand-based mimic that hides a vulnerable core inside. Laura tries to find the core but unsuccessfully. Ryrna assumes the core moves too fast inside. Kamau reflects on Raren's theory and agrees. They need one more chance to confirm Dumas' signature position. Confusion, Rarona asks to return to the battle and help find the real body. While Kama is preparing, the imitative monster suddenly jumps out from behind and catches him by surprise right in the middle of a thought. Just in time, his allies launch an attack with magic and weapons. They freeze the monster solid to buy time. Laura reveals a powerful ice spell, creating a gap, freezing the monster's movements in place. Kama seizes the moment, pulls out the severed finger he secretly hid during their previous meeting, despite everything. Despite the disgusting taste, Kama devours the monster's flesh, and this triggers a colossal growth in attributes. Here he accelerates again at full speed and rushes forward right into the creature's chest. He shares. He delivers a powerful strike, hits right in the core, pouring his enhanced attributes into a decisive finish. Kama jumps high with resolve, delivering the final blow to put an end to the relentless threat of the monster. He is driven by cold calculation. He unleashes a hail of blows, and the monster in the air is squeezed around by precise combinations. The attack lands precisely. Kaima's blade cuts through the creature, scattering dark energy across the entire battlefield, although when the monster's head falls, it mocks their efforts, no signs of true death. Kamak hears its mockery, but Rarona senses something deeper and accurately identifies the location of the true core. She keeps her gaze forward, draws her blade, and prepares for the decisive final strike. With a powerful leap, she accelerates in the air, and the sword swings just as precisely, perfectly in sync with her movements. Her blade cleanly pierces the opponent, directly hitting the hidden, elusive core inside. As the enemy crumbles, Rarona explains, it was defeated by underestimating her presence and reading her instinct. Quietly, she retrieves the glowing heart of the monster, confirms its destruction, and puts an end to the prolonged battle. Rarona sits down to rest, acknowledging that Kaima could have handled the fight without her help. She insists that Kaima take all the glory, extends her speech, acknowledges his leadership and victory. Rarona bows deeply and sincerely apologizes for her previous coldness and for her behavior during all their previous encounters. Anxiously and confused, she begs Kaima to take revenge so she can finally feel emotional balance again. Kaima. Others gently dismiss her guilt, encouraging growth and reminding that her progress still matters. Laura and he tease each other while Rarona silently watches, surprised by their carefreeness. Laughter spreads in the air and she admits, this happens rarely, but sometimes you can relax. Swallowing the monster's orb, Kima gains a new defensive skill that enhances his attributes. They look back at the battle and realize the long night has almost turned into dawn. Rinoa looks back while allies gather behind their backs, a sign that the hard day has ended. Victorious and exhausted, the team rides together and silently leaves the battlefield behind. As the sun rises ahead, they return home grateful, stronger, and ready for whatever the next day brings. Bami and the team return to the village. They were greeted with smiles and strong, relieved hugs. Everyone gathered around Renita, praised Kima's efforts, and confirmed that Remoter safely returned home. Remoter lowered her head, admitting guilt for disobeying orders and fearing that she caused unnecessary danger. She was suddenly hugged. She blushed, confused, because her sister so rarely showed affection. Ramona carefully examined her sister's face, feeling a softer expression that had not been there before. Then Remoter was allowed a rare day off. The sister insisted that she rest after the battle. In the bathhouse, she quietly undressed, finally allowing herself to rest away from conflicts and pressure. Steam wrapped around her shoulders as she sat and thought about changes within herself and around her. Her thoughts surfaced. Someone appeared whom she once hated, but now those thoughts gently lingered in her mind. Memories of betrayal by her father, and then sincerity that slowly reshaped her wary heart. Steam surrounded Ramadra as she silently longed for her father to show the same kindness as Kema. She was ordered to rest, but she chose discipline, returning to sword exercises to clear her mind. Strike after strike quickly exhausted her, sweat poured down like rain, and her movements dimmed from fatigue. Clutching her chest, she admitted that the wounds from the previous day had not healed as much as she expected. Later, her sister joined them with tea and inquisitively asked if memories of their father still held. Romna quietly reminded her sister not to overdo it, touching on an old emotional wound. Remoter denied it with a trembling voice, but memories of her caring father broke through to the heart. Tears welled up as soon as she asked the question about the truth. She could not accept betrayal from the one she cherished so much. With a calm face, Ramana promised answers and asked Remoter to listen patiently to the whole story until the end. While there was no echo of feelings rolling in waves, Kima calmly prepared food as always, skillfully managing the ingredients in this silence. Consciously and calmly, he stepped forward and performed a strange ritual with an egg, drawing energy through silent, precise work. One drop of sweat slid down his cheek, and tension filled the air for a moment. In a moment, pleasure blossomed. He admired the perfect egg drop, laughed, stirring his culinary trick. Curious spectators asked why he was doing this, but Kima insisted that he was cooking, not just playing with eggs. With pride, he revealed his dish, an omelette with mushroom demi-glace on rice. Having made the dish from local ingredients and from the heart, Kima impatiently asked the girls to taste it, and both responded with delight and gratitude. Praise poured down like hail. He almost melted the fluffy eggs and hugged them both, but immediately, without pause, teasing about his obsession appeared in the bite. He quietly admitted, at home his only joy is cooking, especially anything with eggs. Talking about his childhood, Tima recalled lonely meals, food from supermarkets, and discovering cooking at the age of 5. Admitting in her confession that he took more than she thought, he scratched the back of his head, acknowledging his flaws. Emma remembered the former world, harsh memories of her strict mother, which shaped his youth. Without saying goodbye, he disappeared from this world, and now I wondered if anyone even noticed. Laura noticed his distant gaze and gently tousled his hair to lift that quiet heaviness inside. Far from Verona and Verona, they stood alone, the air between them heavy with truth. Rayana's eyes flashed. She really asked, did her father give her guardianship to Ririna? She questioned the truth upon learning that her father was once kind, contrary to what she believed. Marina began to tell about her military days, about a reckless but kind-hearted man surrounded by enemies. Fearing death, he threw his magic bag to distract the enemies and rushed to flee towards another country. Trembling with guilt, he begged the coachman to protect his family, ashamed to look them in the eyes, and Ririna accepted his request, but with aching regret admitted she failed to save Rayana's mother. Tears welled up while Verona confessed she never needed strength, only the presence and warmth of her father. She bitterly reflected each time, always pretending to be strong even when drawn to the love she was left without. Grief burst out uncontrollably. Her scream echoed years of pain, misunderstandings, and hidden longing. Without words, Ryrina embraced her broken sister and carried her through the burden of unspeakable sorrow. By morning, energy shifted. Kema and Femi received their custom outfits, ready for the next journey. Kema admired his new outfit and had no idea where Laura had disappeared that morning. Suddenly, a figure jumped down from above and shouted a challenge that confused everyone in the group. Laura landed with theatrical flair, boasting her upgraded armor with enhanced elemental resistances and divine-level protective attributes. No one understood her logic, but Laura admitted she used her goddess points to stop feeling unnecessary. There, somewhere beyond the village boundaries, stood silence and peace. It had no idea about the energy growing just beyond its border. The group said goodbye to the village, grateful for the hospitality, warmth, and peaceful landscapes. Laura and Femi expressed hope that they would return someday, once the world finally calms down. Verona arrived angry due to the delay, scolding them for being hours late for the planned departure. Despite the reprimand, she agreed to set off together, hinting that she had business nearby. She stepped aside, subtly asked for a personal favor. Her voice was steady and her tone serious. Without warning, Verona knelt down and fervently asked Kemu to take her as his wife. Though she smiled for others, her heart quietly longed for rescue from hidden pain. After a sleepless night, Kama confronted her feelings, finally became clear, and could no longer be ignored. Blushing, she confessed her love and offered loyalty, deciding to always be by his side. He stammered in embarrassment from surprise, then smiled and invited her to join their party despite the shock. Suddenly, she sharply pulled him to herself and kissed him. The spectators froze, unable to utter a word and shocked beyond words. Frozen as if struck down, her heart pounding wildly, and suddenly she realized the kiss was not a dream, it was real. Trying to explain her feelings, Ramona got lost. Unfamiliar emotions burst out that she still could not understand. Nervously flaring up, she asked him to drop the formality and simply call her Rubona. Suddenly, Emil rushed forward and shocked everyone. He kissed Tama himself. Tama, her cheeks burning with blush, she loudly screamed about love, boldly declaring herself another contender for Kama's future bride. When the tension flared, each girl claimed that Kema was hers, fiercely arguing to prove whose heart he truly held. In the silence, a war of glances erupted. No one was going to back down from the rivalry that was already igniting. Reluctantly, they decided on a postponed wedding, hoping to delay the conflict until they reached the city. Tension did not let go. He thought about his unexpected popularity and about how to choose one. While the romance had not yet settled, a blow crashed into danger. Rubona stepped forward, sword already drawn, ready to protect Kame's life. Rubona unleashed a powerful spell, Ice Needle. With an ice arrow, she pierced the orcs, knocking them down one by one with swift, icy precision. Laura rushed forward confidently, demanding the entire battlefield for herself, and her voice spread with theatrical pathos. Investing divine energy, she began a grand attack, but reality instantly caught up with her epic entrance. Before she could finish speaking, Ramona had already ended the fight, and Laura froze in silent shock. That night she sat by the fire, grumbling to herself and quietly mourning her lost chance to stand out. Ramona offered fruit wine to cheer her up. The team relaxed by the evening fire. Hours passed and Laura kept drinking and pressing. No kindness could heal her heart. Torn by nerves and in tears, she blurted out about Kema, not knowing that her feelings were already noticed and understood. With warm words and a soothing hand, Rabona reminded her efforts always reach the heart. The flow of movement spilled over. Laura hugged Rabona tightly, overwhelmed with emotion from the support, while others quietly shared their own memories. Encouragement from Marana lifted the mood and reminded everyone how hard the path to greatness was. Warmth in her chest, and Femel smiled through the conflict. It retreated, yielding to growing trust and understanding. He glanced back at the group and quietly felt their bonds strengthening as he flew forward. In the carriage, laughter sounded as if something had clearly changed, while Kima still understood nothing about what happened last night. By the end of the week, the party finally reached the city. New connections appeared, and adventures awaited beyond the stone walls. In the bustling town of Serval, the group received rewards for their recent mutant hunt. Having done almost nothing, Laura proudly took credit, ignoring Kame as an indifferent side comment. Laughter echoed in Crescent Square. Old friends reunited, shared drinks, and were warmly welcomed. While Kima prepared for the break, the girls vanished instantly, whispering about something secret. Returning to her room, Laura boldly undressed and, announcing her decision, stunned the others. They froze, not uttering a word. While Kema enjoyed solitude, the girls upstairs prepared their own audacious surprise. His relaxed smile vanished instantly. He froze in place, eyes wide open, looking at the unexpected provocative scene. In selected lingerie, the girls met Kema together. Their synchronized bow was both shocking and deliberate. United in their decision, they announced their choice. All three would become Kima's wives. Without exception, and at that moment his brain short-circuited. He couldn't process anything. He caught one word: nanny. The girls made a desperate demand: let Kema fully accept them as his own. Verona offered him options: together or separately. They entrusted him to decide exactly how it would begin. Laura, eternally too dramatic, boasted confidence while Rorona and Tamil watched her antics with suspicious, vigilant eyes. Kama clenches his fist, accepting the absurdity that when love is mutual, even gods will not object. Without hesitation, he made a proposal. The girls agreed, and plans for a bigger house already began to take shape. He stopped halfway, pondering the right to have his own house. It was not something he had ever truly thought about before. Next morning, he anxiously inquired about house prices and surprised everyone with his initiative. The locals greeted him warmly, deciding that his inquiry meant he would finally start a real family. Although the owner felt nostalgic warmth, Kima insisted the house could wait until they found the money. Alone with his own thoughts, he realized he postponed the wedding, squeezed by pressure and feeling his own worthlessness. Shasa praised him for his growth, recalling how from their very first meeting she saw potential in him. She felt uncomfortable. A question about his sincerity struck her mind, and she remembered her flirtatious remark about his drinking during their first meetings. Hungry for ideas on earning money, Kima turned to Ashasa and asked for ways to gather money for the future house. Ashasa presented a rare fish, a delicacy highly valued and said to be the most precious catch on the continent. Learning its price, he understood. Catching one would fully cover the housing expenses. Ashasa explained what thin wine is, a luxurious dish prepared by frying and dipping horn puffer in thin slices. Realizing her passion, Kima understood. Fish could satisfy both her dream and his goal. With gratitude and inspiration, he eagerly thanked Ashashi. Now he had a clear path to the future. At Lusport's marketplace, Marlene gathered bread and fish, carefully managing supplies for her brother's recovery. A local woman was impressed by her efforts and gave her candies, praising how responsibly she acted, and she felt it. She was delighted by the compliment and decided to enjoy the breeze with a peaceful walk. Suddenly stepping off the market path, she heard rumbling in her stomach. The desert wind carried nearby horse hoofbeats. Anxiety and uncertainty gripped her chest. Marlene realized she had gone too far, lost among the endless open plain. Raising desert dust behind them, they finally rode camels to the distant gates of Lusport village. Their journey led through rocks, ferries, and long searches for the rare horned inflatable lagoon horned puffer oasis. At a roadside tavern on the desert border, they risked coins and poker games just for the fun of traveling. They waded through the quicksandy strip, sand dolphin, fought monsters, and chased a cunning desert beast for weeks. During the rewrite, jokes appeared. Some compared their desert adventure to an awkward honeymoon before the wedding. Laughter and chatter did not let go, but the tension was growing because one stubbornly insisted serious talks only after they return home. The warning was ignored. A moment later, the girl suddenly fainted and her supplies plunged into the dry sand. The young man rushed to her, checked her injuries, confused by her unconsciousness. Gradually regaining consciousness, the girl opened her eyes, confused because the stranger held her gently, as if carefully. Unfamiliar arms held her tightly, and faint memories stirred while she wondered to whom that voice belonged. Seeing his smile, she blushed shyly from warmth and wondered if this could be love. Gathering her thoughts, she ate quietly while they told how she had fainted from hunger. They followed her, mocking her clumsiness, and decided to find her home after the meal. The search for the girl's home led them through the sunlit, quiet residential square. Lusuport, finally reunited. Her older brother sincerely apologized, while scolding her for not asking the way earlier. In the tavern, Warren's brother introduced himself, said he was the owner. Their parents died without hesitation. Harem prepared the room, assuming the group were adventurers, although confirmation was not yet given. Nervously tugging his shirt, Marin insisted she wants to express sincere gratitude for being saved. Although Kima politely brushed it off, Marin's determination to sincerely thank him only grew stronger, and this only further inflamed the situation. With a smile full of understanding, Corin warned Kima, Marin never gives up once her heart has made up its mind. Harem handed Marin money and asked her to thank Kima on his behalf for saving her life. Fragrant palms swayed quietly until morning came, the perfect scene for Marina's planned surprise exit. Eager to learn about the local cuisine, Kima listened as Marin explained the signature dishes of this town, famous for its sanche. Every year, fishermen caught sand sharks from neighboring fast-flowing sand zones, fierce, toothy, and incredibly valuable delicacies. Memories surfaced as Marin recalled her parents. She decided to prepare the food they loved so much. Kima tried to hide his reaction, nervously brushed off the awkward moment with a half-serious excuse. At the marine market, she learned that sand shark meat was unavailable this year due to their aggressiveness. Her shoulders dropped. Despite her hopes, she was unable to give him the special meal she had planned. And he gently comforted her, promising to handle it himself, and made her promise not to wander. Far beyond the village boundaries he disappeared, dissolving into the endless dunes, chasing her sincere desire all alone. Jumping between rocky hills, he scanned the horizon. Marin said that sand sharks often appear. Suddenly the shark lunged from below, forcing Kima to clutch and raise defense because the tension rose instantly, and without any hesitation he rushed at the gaping maw, unafraid of the massive predator rising right before him. Next appear the twin sharks, confused, while Kima from above launches a precise counterattack with furious speed. With a mighty cry he thunderously killed the shark into the ground, decisively and finally putting an end to the threat. Kima safely returned to the city relieved after surviving the hunt and capturing the sandshark. Everyone gathered impressed by the catch, but he downplayed everything, giving credit to the neighbor and Marin's help. Then Laura told the truth, but Marin, moved by Kima's effort, accepted it without hesitation. Encouraged by her brother, Marin cheerfully began preparing the best dish she knew for the king. With steady hands she carefully sliced the shark meat, then just as carefully fried each piece. Marin proudly presented the dish sandshark teriyaki, its glossy shine showing all the care and effort during preparation. Kima thanked and then took the first bite eagerly, catching the rich, attractive aroma. A bright sensation hit instantly. The taste exploded and overwhelmed him completely, declaring that it was worthy of a royal banquet. While others savored the food, compliments poured one after another. Some even dreamed of living in the inn-yard. He praised Marin's talent, joking that he would hire her, and made her flustered by such unexpected attention. Nervously confessed her strengths, hoping to prove that she could travel independently and be reliable at work. Then she boldly declared that she wanted to join Kima's journey, surprising everyone with her determination. Curran revealed his engagement to Fren, assuring that Marin's presence would not burden the stay. Proudly but restrained, he assured her of sincerity and strength of spirit, and asked to accept her. Kima's companions warmly and gladly welcomed Marin, anticipating even more food, friendship, and the journey they would overcome together ahead. Then he officially accepted her request, extended his hand, and officially welcomed Marin into their group. Overwhelmed with emotions, Marin repeated her words, still not believing that she was truly chosen to set out with them. The group gathered to plan the mission to catch a rare horned pufferfish in order to gain a home. A little aside, Marin overheard the conversation. Her face froze. She did not know that he was going to marry others as well, and from shock, she silently lost the power of speech. That oasis which they had to reach was not easy. The locals warned, monsters had taken over this area and almost no one dared to enter there. Despite the danger, he remained steadfast. Confidently, one of the girls in the group offered to protect everyone, pushed the threat away without any hesitation. While the final preparations were underway, Marin was entrusted to lead them. She was bewildered by how much the boy trusted, and by his very presence. Marin was embarrassed and blushed, nervously boasting again about her culinary and cleaning skills. The boy just smiled and reminded her that she had already said that. Soon the group left the oasis and got into a small boat. The water was calm, so the journey to their destination began steadily and quietly. With a very serious expression, Marin tightly gripped the fishing rod and repeated words of encouragement to herself. Suddenly her scream sharply pulled the tackle with all her might against the force. She jerked back and shouted that it was a big catch, drawing everyone's attention to Ron. The surface splashed and a bright clown fisherman appeared, stunned. Her companion enthusiastically praised his beauty. He asked for more details. Marin explained, it is a protandrous species with rare traits capable of changing sex depending on the needs of the group. When the boat reached the destination, Marin received praise for her knowledge, and she tried to brush it off, but her shy smile revealed pride. Later in the camp, the boys fried their catch over an open fire. Tempted, the boy decided to try a piece. Immediately after he ate, he acquired a new skills exchange, LV1. The announcement surfaced suddenly. When he digested what had just happened, a cold shiver ran down his spine. The realization of his new power stunned him, and he froze without words. Without warning, light flashed around the boy, who was sitting in a meditative pose. The others froze in shock, unable to comprehend what was happening. Thick clouds of smoke rose around them. The worried group rushed to check on him, calling his name until the fog cleared. The transformation was complete. Confusion filled the air, and one of the girls cautiously asked the newcomer who she was. As the smoke dispersed, the transformed version of the boy became clearly visible. He was now a girl, wide-open eyes and her hand still holding the fish, stunned and disbelieving. Realizing what had happened, she looked at her changed body in shock. Her scream cut through the air. Still in a shocked stupor, the others began to question, was this really Kima before them? Her voice had changed along with her appearance. Laura explained that the unique biology of the clownfish most likely influenced the skill he had mastered. Kima, now in panic, begged to find a way to reverse the changes, but Laura hesitated for a moment. With a heavy sigh, Laura revealed the truth. The skills once acquired could no longer be undone. The answer hit Kima painfully. She froze, stunned and speechless. Desperate and resignedly calm, Kima asked for permission to explain the nature of her newly acquired ability. Gathering her courage, Kima stood before the group. The tone became serious and she announced that she had something to say, something important about her new power. Kima, completely transformed, confessed everything to the whole group, about his origins, about the goddess Laura, and about the fact that he gains powers simply by eating. To his surprise, the group responded warmly. They thanked him for his honesty and acknowledged that his powers helped all of them survive. Feeling supported, Kima smiled and thanked everyone. One of the members suggested applying the new skill just as he once shared his powers, hoping it could be passed on further. Accordingly, Kima agreed to try. If the skill changed males into females, then perhaps passing it to a woman would have no effect. But nothing changed. A message appeared: "This is a special skill. Once acquired, it cannot be passed on." Kima was stunned. Kima fell to the ground, overwhelmed by the realization that he might remain a woman forever. The rest watched, amazed that he had broken down so much. The situation became increasingly complicated. If Kima is now a girl, will their long-awaited wedding still count? Despite the uncertainty, one girl stepped forward. Remarkably decisively, she declared that she did not care what gender Kima was, just wanted to be with him. Soon their journey resumed. The team climbed rocks together, stubbornly moving forward despite the emotional turmoil shaking them. Suddenly, a giant monster appeared. Without hesitation, Kima immediately sprang into action. With a strong kick, she sent the beast flying, proving that through 3 days passed and Kima fully adapted to the new life. Despite the transformation, his high energy charge and stubbornness remained unchanged. The team finally reached a magnificent oasis where a ghostly horned bubblefish lived. The area was vast and calm, a quiet haven full of wonders. After a long journey, everyone stopped at the water's edge and dreamed of diving in. The lake's silence invited relaxation. Without hesitation, the girls prepared for the moment what they had secretly agreed upon. As soon as they closed the pots, the lake exploded with a cheerful splash. One by one, swimsuits appeared until everyone was ready to jump into the water. Kima paused for a moment, then slowly adjusted his new bikini. The girls gathered by the water and proudly showed off their swimsuits. One of them jokingly said that swimsuits are best suited for the beach even though they were in an oasis. Marin, holding a swimsuit, explained that Laura had used her powers and prepared costumes for everyone. Kima looked distinctly embarrassed. The swimming costume he was given was lacy, too revealing, and he was not pleased at all. As soon as Kima adjusted to his clothes, Marin hugged him from behind, boldly pressing her palms to his chest. The others froze in shock. For the first time, Kima encountered teasing he could not avoid. Marin continued scattering innocent comments about how soft he was. Laughter spread in the air as the group splashed into the water. Even Kima, now fully immersed in his new reality, joined the fun with unexpected energy. Nearby, Marin quietly assembled a sandcastle, her face calm, satisfied. A small crab quickly scurried past, ignoring her creation while she added the finishing touches. When the sun set, Kima retreated to the hot springs, wrapped in a towel he had soaked in warm water. Despite the apparent peace, anxiety did not let go. He still did not know how to turn everything back. Kima stared at his reflection in the water. Confusion tore him from within. He had promised the girl marriage, but now everything seemed impossible in this state. He relaxed in the hot baths when Rorona suddenly appeared without a towel and startled him so unexpectedly. She insisted everything is fine because now they are both girls, and even offered to wash his back despite his embarrassment. Standing behind him and smiling softly, she calmly continued while Kim froze, not knowing how to react. Kima and her companion sat by the hot spring and steam rose around them. It was quiet here, a place hidden in a rocky gorge. During the bath, Kima felt nervousness. Her friend helped wash her back and by this broke the awkward silence. Kima tried to understand what was happening but did not move. The conversation shifted in another direction. Her friend asked if Kima had found a way to become a man again. Kima explained which technique she had tried, but nothing worked. She admitted everything she did not help. She was afraid that returning to the normal would require something unknown. Her friend reminded her that she was not alone. Whatever the attempt or trial, they would overcome it together. Verona reached out her hand and urged Kimu to rely on her. She did not want her friend to keep pulling everything alone anymore already. With a gentle smile, Rorona promised that they would wait no matter how long it took for Kima to return to normal. Her words calmed Kima's heart. She suppressed it within herself in solitude, realizing the discomfort that the new appearance of Kima could bring and what it would mean for both of them. Confused, Rorona quickly pushed away her thoughts when Kima approached her, trying to keep herself together. The next morning, Kima stood confidently, gathered everyone for a new mission, and together they caught the horned, spiny puffers. While Kima energetically announced her plan, the group was assembling. Others teased her enthusiasm, but she stubbornly did not back down. Although she still could not return to who she was as a man, Kima chose optimism. She confidently accepted her new role and prepared for the hunt. Rorona joined as support, and Marin was also invited to help. Despite some doubts, Marin insisted she could handle it. The team agreed to set out Toger with Marin, who knew the sea. They formed a strong team. Before leaving, Kima performed a transfer ritual, divided the power, or prepared herself for the tasks ahead. She prepared her friends for the task ahead. Kima passed on a special underwater breathing skill she had learned from Rory. Without hesitation, Rorona and Marin gracefully dived into the lake, cutting through the surface and disappearing underwater with flawless precision. The further they dived, the more schools of fish flickered around, and Rorona's eyes widened at what she saw. 3 figures glided through waters filled with corals as their journey continued beneath the waves, surrounded by vibrant marine life. Marin could not take her eyes off as fish swam past her, admiring the bright picture with fascination. Kima, becoming alert, noticed something ahead. They blocked their path. Large moon jellyfish. Although they look elegant, their tentacles pose a serious danger if touched. Quickly reacting, Kima dashed forward and cut through the jelly with the jellyfish, clearing the way. Rorona, grateful, nudged her, "Keep moving." While Rorona fought side by side, the jellyfish's tentacles suddenly wrapped around her in the heat of the movement, catching her off guard. Squeezing tightly, the tentacles bound her hands and feet. No matter how she struggled, the jellyfish's grip only grew stronger. Rorona flinched when the jellyfish entangled her in its tentacles, and Kima froze with anxiety because of the ambush. While entwined, she still summoned a flash of magical wind. A wave of energy burst from her palm, and the light flared up in a blaze. Having cut down the last threat, she landed and immediately pulled herself arrested. As expected from Verona, she instantly removed the danger me. So far, Marin found a narrow path leading deeper. Walking along it, they noticed nearby horned puffer fish swimming close by. After an exhausting underwater clash, the group managed to defeat the aggressive fish and complete the mission for which they set out. Their goal was achieved. The team stood over a pile of horned pufferfish. Kima decided it was time to use her special purchase. To the question, she confirmed, "This is a magic bag capable of holding up to 200 kilograms, enough to transport a substantial trophy." It withstood the weight and also had freezing magic, so the fish could remain fresh for weeks if stored properly. Before setting off, Marin waved toward what was hiding even deeper in the cave. Kima immediately noticed a gigantic underwater ruin. Approaching cautiously, they wondered why such a mysterious structure was displayed in plain sight. Rorona assumed it was a trap. Kima stepped forward and a mysterious voice echoed through the ruins. A figure jumped out right before their eyes, instantly capturing everyone's attention. The woman introduced herself as Maroa, the guardian of the ruins. She claimed to know why the group had come and had been watching them from beginning to end. Although the team denied any interest in treasures, Maroa insisted on checking them first before letting them go. Raising a trident, she called a powerful ally from the depths. From the dazzling light emerged a huge fish. Kima and Rorona froze in shock as the new threat approached. Maroa introduced her gigantic companion, a giant sea beast she called her precious favorite. Marin quickly recognized it as a humphead wrasse, a rare and powerful fish known for dangerous ramming attacks. She explained its biology in more detail. Females could transform into males, making it a fascinating but formidable opponent. Kima's eyes widened sharply as she realized this. She shouted an idea and took off without warning. Everything went from bad to worse, but Chun is not worried. He is used to his sister's. She lunged at the giant fish and struck it with all her might, harshly and persistently. The beastly fish was weakened by shock. Taking advantage of the moment, she cut off a piece of its meat and began to retreat. Maroa acknowledged Kima's strength but made it clear the fight was just beginning. She said the ruins have 5 layers, each guarded by her strongest wards. Before disappearing to the lowest level, Marui entrusted Kima to challenge her if she dared. Kima, however, refused. She smiled and chose to return home, deciding that no treasure was worth risking her life. After they safely landed, Kima grilled the meat of the humphead wrasse and processed the puffer fish preserved during the expedition. After Kema ate the cooked fish, a bright glow enveloped her. A skill message appeared, sex change. The pine tea level became 1. The result came instantly. Kema looked at his hands and body and joyfully realized he had returned to his original male form. Reunited with friends, Kema told about the discovery he swallowed a clownfish and a humfed wrasse in a bundle, then reversed the transformation. Everyone celebrated his return. While they talked, Marin quietly admitted she wanted to experience Kema's previous form once more for the last time, so an awkward but light and funny pause ensued. Kema promised Marin any request she could make, hoping to cheer her up after he returned to male form. Without wasting a second, Marin rushed forward and asked him to marry her. The girl confessed her admiration to Kema, recalling the day he saved her in the desert. Inspired, she set out to become someone important to him. Kema was confused, trying to grasp the full seriousness of her. He decided that she meant chores and help around the house. She clarified this without any hesitation. There were also intimate duties. He was frightened by her audacity and reminded her that she was still young, but she insisted. She said she was already of age and promised to improve and mature. Overwhelmed with emotions, Kema still admitted what he felt, but his knightly pride made him not rush the decision. While Kema dealt with Mario's boldness, the other girls calmly acknowledged her feelings. They had been waiting for this moment. Kema accepted her proposal but set conditions, stating that there would be no intimacy for 5 years until she matured. Although disappointed, Mario quietly accepted his conditions and earned praise for understanding his position. Despite the rules, Mario provocatively hugged him, questioning whether it was really forbidden if she started it herself. Eventually, when their talks and agreements settled, the couple prepared to continue their journey. Lightly joking, they set off together. Kema received full approval to marry Mariel, and the innkeeper wished them happiness. After a 2-week journey through the desert, the group safely returned to their base town Selbel. When everything settled down, Kema spoke about exchanging a valuable item and asked for advice, knowing his trading skills were limited. To get sound advice, he decided to turn to an experienced trade expert they had met before. The woman shown as Larona's elder sister warmly welcomed them and was ready to help again. She leaned over to examine the huge fish and studied it with interest, no surprise. As an experienced trader, she immediately sensed its value and stated it was too profitable to ignore. In the end, Kema was introduced to Arsha, the owner of the establishment. At first, calm remained on her face. Arsha's ease quickly disappeared. She rushed forward and hugged Kema tightly, happy that he had returned the rare ingredient she had long awaited. Mariel decisively entered the kitchen. When the group needed someone else to prepare fugu, she stepped forward without hesitation and calmly assured she already had experience in its preparation. Firmly holding her hands, she began slicing the fish. Every knife movement was clean and deliberate. Proudly, she served the finished dish on an elegant plate of fugu sashimi, arranged with flawless symmetry like flowers. Everyone admired the beauty of the dish. Kema noticed the thin, almost transparent slices, and the aroma so impressed Arsha that he froze. Lorna spoke about the danger of preparing fugu, reminding them of its paralytic toxins and the responsibility involved in serving such a dish. In a surge of trust, Arsha herself volunteered to try the dish, stating that she would take full responsibility if anything went wrong. Instantly tasting it, she froze with a face that became motionless. Despite the initial joy, she was suddenly and completely overwhelmed. The rest froze, stunned by the unexpected result. Mario was frightened when he saw Arsha fall and feared that something had gone wrong with the dish. After a short pause, Arsha suddenly came to her senses, choking on sensations not because of poison but because of the exquisite taste and texture of fugu. Kema and others joined and they started frying and savoring the fugu fins before pouring the broth into warm cups for tasting. Arsha took a deep sip, praising the rich aroma and soft taste, truly something special and foreign. Overwhelmed by a wave of emotions, she leaned on Kema and asked him to support her. She was clearly enchanted by both the food and the moment itself. Although safety and quality had already been confirmed, several product issues still required refinement before a full market launch. A high-class auction is soon to take place, the perfect platform to showcase the rare fugu and attract the attention of elite buyers. Support from Arsha made people raise their eyebrows, especially after it became known that she belonged to a powerful noble family. The strong influence of her family on trade made her support extremely valuable. It guaranteed trust among wealthy patrons. After they secured a spot at the auction, thoughts turned to the new house project with space for both cooking and training. Proposals for the new house came quickly. One suggested a view of the lake, another asked for a place for the library. During the sketching of plans, budget problems surfaced, especially expenses for rings, attire, and childcare. To help, the girls donated their joint savings a little, but from the heart, hoping to cover part of the costs. Gratitude appeared on his face, but curiosity flared as soon as he realized a person they did not expect had joined the fund. The assumption was corrected quickly. The extra effort was not due to obligation, even if the burden fell on the least likely person. Embarrassed but sincere, the girl insisted she must help her successor when he faltered and grew cold because he believed in her. A rare moment of praise threw her off balance. She froze with wide-open eyes while he acknowledged her efforts. Instead of finishing with gentle words, he reflexively stroked her head, and this broke her patience, after which she slapped him in response. By the next day, everyone was stunned when the auction proceeds were announced: 30 million balshi net profit. Because of the unexpected success, he thanked and promised to return to properly celebrate, and finally admitted how far they had all come. Lorna gently placed her hand on Larona's shoulder and said that finally someone reliable could lend a shoulder. Kima accepted the request without hesitation, firmly decided to make Larona happy. Ideas for the new house were carefully listened to and warmly received. Then the scene was moved to a distant place high above the clouds, the ephemeral garden of the goddesses. Celis, a goddess of the same generation as Laura, quietly watched the events unfolding below. With a look full of judgment, she asked whether Laura truly understood her divine purpose, hinting at anxiety over how strong her bond with the follower was becoming. They saw the origins of Laura and others. He calmly observed the unfolding events with a composed gaze. One goddess offered reassurance and explained that Laura was maturing steadily, so it would be premature to call her a failure. Yet beneath her calmness, the great goddess revealed a deeper worry. She sensed impending disaster, one that would soon strike the girl. Somewhere destruction was already raging. A god named Filrose, once confident and powerful, was frozen in shocked stupor as his powers were shattered. His army beasts, warriors, and summoned monsters lay scattered and dead across the battlefield. All of this was crushed in one day, an unthinkable defeat for a divine being. Filrose once confidently relied on his monstrous powers, but realized too late the campaign of spreading chaos was shattered. Among the ruins, a giant warrior rooster named Genbu mocked the defeat, disappointed by the weak resistance. After the victory over Filrose, Genbu croaked from exhaustion, feeling that the end was very near. Without hesitation, he took flight. Far above, he fixed his gaze on a new target. Genbu declared that the next challenge would be against Kim. Kima and his companions reached a new home, a huge estate hidden among the hills. The team could not get enough of their luck. On their faces were delight and reverence. Searching the territory, they came across a sprawling garden outside and a huge library inside. Every space offered something special for everyone. The kitchen was overflowing with possibilities, and the luxurious bath and cozy room with collections promised comfort and entertainment. Their discovery ended in the shared bedroom, and among the girls, shy yet attractive, expectant feelings flared up. Just as Kima tried to keep everything calm, the maids unsettled him with playful affection, and it completely threw him off balance. Kima felt overwhelmed by the maid's brutal proposal. Her teasing tone confused him when she commented on his youthful energy. Soon several new maids appeared in the estate. Torkerfuli solemnly announced her role, followed by Shucker, who maintained a calm appearance. Despite her age, Marin declared her intention to become Kima's future bride, confident and determined to prove she was a worthy candidate as a servant woman. Meanwhile, one of the girls asked where Laura had gone, noticing that she had not yet returned from her errand. Far from home, Laura encountered trouble. A pair of huge chickens, called the Chicken Heavenly Kings, blocked her way. A fierce clash of two giant birds reached its climax, a devastating blow, and one finally fell. Before the solemn tombstones with the names of fallen comrades appeared before their eyes, the rooster paid tribute to those who had fallen. Now the fourth of the four heavenly kings admitted his survival made sense. Relying on the spirits of his fallen allies, he began a powerful ritual. In a radiant circle of energy, he summoned divine power to claim for himself the ultimate title of invincible supremacy. Somewhere else, a girl froze with anxiety. Something deep and unknown stirred in her heart, as if she sensed a great shift being born somewhere ahead. Laura looked at her ice cream stick and her sighed. Despite expecting it, she was still burned by defeat. It was her 100th stick lost in a row. Rejoicing in the day's events, Laura celebrated the fulfillment of her dream to own an estate. Suddenly, a huge flock fell swiftly upon them from above. The rooster politely introduced himself, acting under Genbu's orders. He declared that now she was their hostage. Laura recognized the name Genbu, a warrior chick from the forest. Calmly assessing the situation, she decided Kime would rescue her without problems. The pride flared in her eyes. She mocked the bird's arrogance and in the middle of a phrase launched a powerful attack, revealing her full name, Laura Jinamara. Just as Laura prepared to strike, a claw whipped forward and grabbed her mid-movement. Despite the skirmish, orders were given to treat her carefully. The chicken soldier saluted and flew off, holding Laura in a sling as they rapidly retreated. Returning to the estate, Hima received a letter. The note demanded, if he wanted to take the goddess's daughter, he must come himself to the northern forest within 3 days. After reading the message, he understood. It was Zenbu, one of the 4 heavenly chicken kings. Despite the threat, Kima remained calm. He remembered Genbu strange but not evil, more a warrior than a villain. When Kima entered the room, he was struck. On the windowsill curled up a girl the size of a fairy. She was quiet, yet at the same time, tension in her was unmistakably felt. The girl introduced herself as Kree's goddess and friend of Laura. At first she was cheerful, but her mood immediately changed when she warned, Kima, who stands against Genbu in his current state, is doomed, it will be deadly. Kima learned that Genbu had become strong enough to single-handedly defeat an entire army of heroes. Despite the grim reality, Kiyoshi suddenly proposed a bold solution. She burst out with the idea to directly unite with Kima. Tempted by the offer, Kima still refused. He valued her support and saw her strength but insisted on going alone. He looked each in the eye and declared that he could not allow anyone else to take on the role of saving Laura. Hearing his conviction, the others stepped back, amazed. Kree smiled softly. He was touched by the sincerity and made him promise to return with Laura alive. Laura writhed in the air, tightly bound by ropes. In fury over her treatment, she growled threats at her kidnappers for daring to bind a goddess. As she hung helplessly, the guards argued, doubting. One wondered if Kima would really come. Despite their skepticism, Genbu stood firm. His aura surged with power as he assured, Kima, though unremarkable in appearance, is a person worth betting everything on. Genbu, who now towered with strength, admitted, to oppose someone like Kima, one cannot hold back. With determination in Kim's eyes, he finally reached the battlefield. The sword was already in his hand. He stood under the swirling leaves and without hesitation named his name, Kasaka Aikma. Laura, still tied up but unharmed, saw him. Tears welled up in her eyes and she shouted his name. Opposite him, Genbu's form had already changed. He absorbed the power of his fallen comrades, and his body radiated incredible might. Kim stared at the monster Genbu, now the sole embodiment of the 4 heavenly chickens, and it loomed over him like a tower. He smiled fiercely and mockingly ridiculed Genbu, recalling the ancient chicken promise to lull him to sleep. In response, Genbu launched an ambush, releasing a creature that with dazzling speed threw a poisonous needle. Kim tried to dodge but could not completely avoid the blow. The force knocked him off his feet and with a sharp cry he crashed into the ground. Exhausted, Kim was catching his breath. Genbu mocked his dodges, but Kim's cunning smile reappeared. He was saved by poison resistance level 5. Kim prepared to strike back. As soon as Kim moved into battle, Genbu released another surprise, a muffled roar. He unleashed a devastating counterattack technique, a furious tiger's roar, and charged at Kim with explosive force. Kim was struck fierce, frenzied. His chest was torn open by the monster, his body lifted off the ground and thrown into flight, breathless. And at that moment, some girl watched in horror. The beast looked down at the fallen Kim, disappointed. He mocked his helplessness and prepared to deliver the final blow from above. Just as the blow was about to land, he woke up with a confident smile. He went on the counterattack, precise and assured. He stands up, the sword in his hand. His unique ability activates and his strength grows each time from near death. The tables begin to change places. Recalling the skill acquired earlier, Kima girds himself with endurance on his side and hardens. He will break through forward thanks to persistence. Kima rushed forward and cut with precise mastery until the beast collided with him head-on. Steel struck feathers, the blow burst with a clang and both froze for a moment in a stalemate. Watching the opponent closely, the monster noticed a change. Kima's movements became sharper, his presence more refined. Suddenly, the creature's form shifted. Kima tensed. He was pierced with surprise by the new, compact transformation that radiated power. With a scream, the monster unleashed a deadly technique, claws multiplying strikes right in the air. A shower of sharp attacks flew at Kima and he remained composed, stayed ready. When the enemy approached, he prepared to respond accurately, timely, and without any hesitation. A powerful technique unfolds. The beast begins a deadly strike and its massive claws cut through the air. Agony, it explodes throughout Kima's body. He screams in pain, clutching his chest, barely holding on one knee. No treatment helps, the beast explains. Its claw is cursed and the wounds those it inflicted, so magic will not heal them. He struggles to stay conscious. His strength wanes, muscles weaken as pain washes over in waves, but something in his gaze does not give in. Even in a clenched jaw remains a spark of resistance. Faces flash in his mind: friends, comrades, people he vowed to return to, the wedding that is destined to happen. Promises and dreams that have not yet come true burn within him. Echoes of voices pierced his head. Laura's scream cut through the fog of pain. He raised his gaze, remembering her nearby, not just a companion, but a goddess. That memory sparked an idea. Weighing the strength of his enemy, he gathered himself and stood firm. There was nothing left to deny. His current strength was not enough to achieve victory. A smile crept across his face. This realization could lead to victory. Even when the beast had neglected him, he rose again. Memory surfaced long ago. Laura told about the Kamiroshi ritual, during which a divine spirit could merge with a follower. According to her, this fusion could grant temporary power. When danger overwhelmed them completely, they could unite death. Despair washed over him like a wave. He called out to Laura, asking her just once to listen. His thoughts spilled out, torn, unfiltered. Over time, everything began to change. Side by side in shared battles and adventures, he already saw more facets in her. Sweat ran down his face, his voice trembled, but sincerity rang true. Despite what he had thought before, he still came to the conclusion she was a person who could be trusted. She blushed and sharply shouted protests, insisting that his words sounded like a death flag, as they say before someone dies. Despite the tension, her embarrassment revealed she understood everything. With no other options, he asked for her power, not in a figurative sense, but directly her divine might.